announcements. And we're going to ask River City Girls Varsity Soccer Lady Raider Carla Leal to lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will now proceed with roll call. Board Member Kirby Gonzalez.
Here.
Board Member Wong.
Here.
Board Member Pizzotti. Here. Board Member Cruz. And I am present, all present and accounted for. Good. We will now move on to announcement of actions taken in closed session. E1, Government Code Section 54957.6, Conference with Labor Negotiators, WTA, CSEA, Management, Directions given. E2, Government Code Section 54956.9, D2, Conference with legal counsel, pending litigation, information received. E3, Government Code 54956.9, D2, Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. The board took action on OAH case number 20171200069.9. Motion was made by Board Member Alicia Cruz, seconded by Board Member Kobe Pizzotti, and the vote was 5-0 to approve the agreement. E4, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Superintendent. This was not discussed. Okay, now we are, let's see, going to the approval of our agenda.
Board Member Alcala, if we can call out in the consent agenda, item O.6, in regards to the school district calendars. We have corrected calendars there for the board and for the public. We just corrected some color coding and added another line there. So you have the corrected calendars for O.6.
Okay, thank you.
President Alcala?
Yes.
I'd like to pull items from the consent agenda.
Okay.
Item O11 and item O12 to the action, please.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Okay, very good. So may we now get a motion to approve the agenda with exception of 01, I'm sorry.
11.
Oh, 11 and 12, thank you.
Move.
Okay, motion was made by Board Member Cruz and seconded, I'm sorry, by, who seconded?
I moved. Oh, whatever. Yeah, second.
Okay, second, thank you. Okay. By Vice President Wong, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
There are no abstentions and no noes. It is approved unanimously. Communication celebrations, J1. We are now at choral performance by the River City High School Choir, Linda Chrisman, choral studies teacher.
First of all, we would like to thank you very much for allowing us to be here this evening and for approving our trip to Disneyland in April. This is the advanced vocal ensemble, half of the advanced vocal ensemble Disneyland here this evening. We have one small announcement.
Hi everyone, my name is Yana and I wanted to tell you guys about our musical coming up in April 13th to 21st. The tickets can be bought online on our Civic Productions, and we think you guys will really enjoy it. It's going to be really fun and we've been working really hard on it and hope you guys check it out. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, they're great.
Yes.
Move to action. Thank you. He doesn't need one. I'm the most important person here. I know.
the songs that we're going to sing for you tonight are just a small portion of the things that we're going to be performing at Disneyland. And then another song that we're going to be performing at the Golden Empire Music Festival that's going to be held at Fast.
Linda, let's get a picture with the board.
I can't go, I'm not going down there. I'll stand behind.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, very good. That was beautiful. We're just all sharing how angelic it sounded. Okay, very good. So now we will move on to our second celebration. Recognition of River City High School soccer team, Stan Moisage, Principal, River City High School.
Thanks, choir, for leading us off so wonderfully. Thank you very much. Board members, thank you very much for having us here. Thank you once again for all the support you do for River City High School. You always do your best to showcase our students, and we appreciate it. And so thank all of you. I thank all of you. Tonight, we also have our soccer players here, and I'm going to break a little tradition, if you don't mind, and I'm going to start with the gentleman tonight. So a little bit of a different start. So I'm going to introduce our head coach, Mr. Kendall Meisner, and he's also got his assistant coach tonight with us, Colin Malik, and so I'm going to ask them to come up here and let you meet our boys soccer team, which was two-time league champions. First time ever in River City High School history that the boys won back-to-back soccer titles, so it's awesome.
All right.
First off, I'd like to thank you, the board, for inviting us out and recognizing the boys for their hard work. The boys put in a tremendous amount of work this season, and it paid off. They went undefeated in the league, which is one of the many firsts that the boys program did this year. It's the first time the program's gone undefeated in the league, first time we've repeated, and it's third time in a row that we've made playoffs. And highly successful team, not only on the field but off the field. We continue to raise our GPA. We're almost a 2.8 as a program that's from top to bottom, from freshman all the way up to varsity. And another first is this year we were able to start a freshman team that allowed us to include another 23 boys on campus participating in sports, and they were all freshmen that otherwise wouldn't have been attached to any program at River City. So it was a fantastic year for the boys program, and thank you for your support that you've given us. I'd like to thank also my assistant, Colin Malik, who's been at my right-hand side for the last 3 years and actually took over the JV program this year and did a fantastic job there as well. Thank you, Colin. I'd like to recognize the boys that were able to attend tonight. Benito Ayala, Mark Sandoval, Leonardo Ramirez, Joel Gutierrez, Jose Paz, Saran Kamakan, Miguel Gerardo, and our captain, Galdino Garcia. And really quick, I'd like to run through some boys that should have their names recognized that weren't able to make it. Jose Benitez, Nick Bond, Juan Garcia, Adrian Gonzalez, or Goodness, Gerardo Gomez, Armando Jimenez, Edgar Leal, Carlos Leal, Rafa Macias, Jose Rodriguez, Johan Rodriguez, Sergio Roman, Charlie Wall, and Paul Zacchaeus. And again, Colin Malik, my assistant coach. And we did bring along our banner just to show you that the tangible results of the boys' hard work this year. Another one to put up in the gym, which will be 2 in a row for us. And we're hoping next year we'll make it a third, even though we move to a new league. Again, thank you very much for inviting us and recognizing the boys and their hard work. Thank you.
Should be.
It's better to
get us
stay up
all?
there. You
I
guys
think
are
that-
tall,
okay.
so. All right, ready on 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
I also have a very exciting group of young ladies behind me, so we're going to have them start here in a second. So I'm going to introduce Coach Kamal Singh. Coach Kamal has been with the program for 10 years now. He's been the girls' soccer coach. And when he first started, it was a very humble beginning at River City High School back then. And he's gone definitely with the great girls that he's got with him. They've elevated the program to a new level, not just for soccer, but for River City athletics and the entire West Sacramento community. And so I'm going to have Kamal Singh come up here, and you can meet a fantastic group of young ladies.
I'd like to thank you for inviting us over here tonight. I know myself and the girls are excited to be here to receive these awards. Just touch up on our program real fast. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but we've made the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years. Actually, we've made the playoffs the last 4 years. We won our league title 3 of the 4 years. And then this year, we went on to win Division II section title, which has never been done in school history for the girls program. So these girls right here in front of you not only made River City history, but made the city of West Sac kind of follow them. And we had actually a pretty big crowd at the championship game a couple weeks ago. And so the support's been amazing for these girls. And we went up against some pretty heavy hitters in the tournament. The teams we played, a lot of them have elite club coaches, elite club players. Obviously, that doesn't stop us. We go out, we don't care who our opponent is. These girls go out there and they play hard. They've put in the work. We started working out in June, started lifting weights, trying to get bigger, better, stronger, faster. And everything kind of came together at the right time. And these girls, we won our first playoff game in school history this year. And then, if you're going to do it once, might as well continue, right? So they just kept on winning and winning. And so we won the section title, and then we went on to NorCal, where we lost to one of the teams that went to the championship from the Bay Area called Branson, a private school. So unfortunately, it was a controversial goal, but what are you gonna do, right? It's
Right.
It's the game, and someone has to win, someone has to lose. But other than that, after the game, I told the girls that we didn't really have a chance to celebrate our victory on Saturday because we had to turn around and play on Tuesday for NorCal. And I didn't want to take that away from the way that we felt as a program, as a school on Saturday, to kind of go from here, level of championship to losing. And I told them, forget about that loss. Appreciate what they did for the school. And like I'm telling them, literally this week, I've got numerous emails from high schools from all over. Literally, I just got one from Ukiah asking us to come to because we have a tournament every year. They're either asking us to come to our tournament or they're inviting us to come to their tournament. So with what we did this year, River City Girls Soccer Program has let Northern California know that we're around. And that's for these girls right here. I'm just a coach. I can only tell them to do so much, but these girls are the ones that are out there in between those lines putting in the work. I can only guide, but they got to do all the work. And so these girls are the ones that deserve all the credit now. So.
I just wanted to, I was just wondering if you could illustrate the point of how impressive it is to win a Sac Joaquin section championship, that where that goes in the next step, then you go to the NorCal region, then you go to the state tournament.
Right.
So, I don't think everybody here gets how amazing that is and how close you were. So I just hope that you can maybe impress upon us by giving a little diagram of what the sections look like.
Yeah. So what happens is, when you make the playoffs, like the boys as well, when you go, it's a tournament of champions. So you're playing against all the top teams in all the divisions. And so for River City, we just started making the playoffs 4 years ago, and it's been one and done, where, it's that competitive. You're going against all the top teams. So for us to win the Division II title, It's a really big deal because, for one, River City's never won it, never even been to the championship game for the girls' part. The boys did, but that was back in, in '08. So it's something that doesn't happen often. That's where, that it's a big accomplishment for our girls, but at the same time, we feel as a program and as a city that this will not be the only time that we do this. Literally, we feel that after we got a taste of it, I know I got it in my mouth and these girls are really pretty. Just that feeling that we got, and knowing that, it doesn't matter where your background is, hard work is hard work, and you could do anything. So, in that NorCal, it's a big deal. You're dealing with teams from all over Northern California.
Right.
Private schools, public schools, it doesn't matter. So when we played a private school. What was it, $44,000 a year to attend at this private school, which only had 300 students. It is what it is. You go up there, you compete, and if you want to be the best, you got to play the best, public, private. It doesn't matter, but yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. It definitely is. And if you get a chance, you can just go on the Sac Joaquin. They have their banner. That's what it looks like. It's a nice. That's the San Joaquin section. You can just go online and you could literally read and see the teams that are out there that, teams like Davis and St. Francis and these teams, they don't win it all. They do, but they don't win it all the time as good as they are. But yeah, just thank you for kind of let me step on that. But with that being said, I don't want to take too much of your time. These girls know once I start talking, Coach just starts to go. So, yeah, speechless. So I'd like to introduce the girls real fast, if that's okay. I'm just going to call your names, and I'll give you your certificates as you guys come up. Cool? All right. So our goalkeeper is Carla Leal.
All right.
We have another goalkeeper, freshman, Hannah Wheeler. We have another freshman, Allie Ainsworth. Then we have our senior, Caitlin Donahue. Nayeli Ruiz. Malaya Castro. Bali. Milan Bandu. Alejandra Pinedo. Catalina Avalos. This girl is my daughter, Camille Singh. Amaya Munson. Vicky Bear. Paula Cabrera. Itzel Bucio. Sofia Dejaro. Becky Martinez. And then we have a couple players that are not present today. That's Sydney Schultz. She's one of our players, and she's at her college right now for a tour and her signing of her for Loyola Marymount. And then we have Angel Simonson, Etzel Rocha, and we also have a girl that tore her ACL in the beginning of the year, played 2 games for us, Nere Molina. Right? Other than that, these are your girls right here that did it. So.
Oh, we can. Everyone, you see it? Can you get in?
Gotta be sideways.
I saw you in my neighborhood.
Ready?
I
All right, on 3, everyone.
It was in your answer.
1, 2, 3. Thanks.
How many do you have to turn?
We're very proud of all of you. Thank you. Very good. So we will now move to student and association reports.
Okay.
And our first report will be by our student board member, Emiliano Rosas, Violo High School.
All right. Good evening. Happy Tuesday. I almost said Tuesday. Not okay. Well, happening at YOLO Education Center, huge thank you to all the vendors who showed up to YOLO's 4th annual College and Career Fair Day. Next, we had some students from YOLO attend the 18th annual Cesar Chavez Leadership Conference at UC Davis. Students from YOLO and Cesar Chavez participated in the 17 minutes of silence, then created posters and memories of the students and staff who lost their lives in Parkland, Florida. We are proud to announce that our school website has been launched. Big thanks to Ms. Korowitz and Mr. Yergos Kazanis. Well, happening at River City High School, River City hosted its first Powder Puff Game/academic rally on March 9th, 2018. River City High School's leadership is currently working on a blood drive for March 6th, 2018. Top 10 senior dinner for the end of May at the Spaghetti Factory, and getting input from students in regards to our Move Up rally on May 4th. Just a brief River City sports update. Spring sports are in full swing. However, the weather has forced several cancellations. Softball, currently 2-2 wins over Glenna, I'm guessing, and Placer. Baseball, currently 2-4 wins over River Valley and Antelope. Lastly, swim. Both boys and girls are undefeated in the league with wins over Rio Linda, Pioneer, and Intercom. And lastly, the girls' soccer team and the boys' soccer team we just seen. Next, Stonegate Elementary. Stonegate wins the 6th through 8th championship basketball game at River City High School. Lastly, Bridgeway Island. Soccer tryouts this week, March 20th and the 21st. Oral Language Fest 2018, March 21st, 2018 at 6 p.m. Kids compete in an oral presentation doing humorous, dramatic interpretations of literature, storytelling, speech, and lyric. StuCon is March 22nd, 2018. Our very own 8th grade history teacher, Ms. Krugler, has a couple students presenting. Color Run, April 13th. Kids, parents, and staff volunteered to do a 5K run through color powder and music around Bridgeway Island. That's my update, and happy Thursday, guys.
Thank you, Emiliano. Excellent report. Okay, so now we are moving to WTA report. Do we have someone for the, thank you.
Dawn cannot be here tonight. We would like to thank Amber Lee for visiting Westfield yesterday. Teachers there have been feeling very stressed around the issues of English language development requirements. It appears that a breakthrough was made, which will work for everyone involved. Her positive and non-judgmental tone was appreciated. We hope that the site now has the tools and understanding to move forward. We would also like to thank the superintendent for allowing the sites to develop activities for March 14th, especially at the high school, which had a lockdown the week before. Students take the issue of preventing violence, especially gun violence, very seriously, and it was inspiring to watch them create an event that honored those killed in Florida. We asked that the district to please post job openings as soon as possible. Many members would like to take the opportunity to take advantage of internal transfers. We hope all of you have a great break and look forward to seeing you in April. And on March 31st, there is a Cesar Chavez March in Sacramento. If you would like to participate, many teachers will be involved.
Great. Thank you. Our CSEA report, do we have anyone? Okay, very good. So we will now move on to public comments. At this time, members of the public may address the board on topics that are under the jurisdiction of the board and are not on the agenda, although the board, by law, may not take action at this meeting. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it chooses to waive the item limit for a particular item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. Public comments consisting of individual charges, complaints, or derogatory remarks about any district employee are requested to be submitted in writing to the administration in accordance with the district's complaint procedure. We do recognize that for a lot of people, commenting before the board and the audience and the people watching at home on television is a nerve-wracking experience. So to try to make that as easy as possible, we do ask that there not be any applause or booing or catcalling or other demonstrations to maintain a civil discourse here in the chambers. The board respects the rights of members of the public to speak to us regarding matters on the agenda and other matters within the jurisdiction of the board. However, it is important for members of the public to recognize that comments regarding students other than the speaker's own children made during a public board meeting may be legally actionable as a violation of student privacy. Both state and federal law prohibit the board and others from discussing confidential student information in open section. To this end, be advised that if you reference a student's name other than your own student, you will be out of order and your comments may not be protected by the privileges that protect public speech. You could be found liable for such comments in legal proceedings. Furthermore, it is important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in public board meetings, may be actionable civil defamation. As such, the board reminds the public that the district has existing board policy that allows the public to lodge a complaint against a district employee. This policy provides a comprehensive procedure for reviewing and responding to public complaints. This process provides a more thorough opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting law that governs this meeting. And we have some public comments. Pat Flint on agenda item L.
Board members and chair, it's nice to see you again. I'm here to give you a little advice. It's really not a scolding. It's more of, Kobe, don't look at me like that. It's more advice that I think you need to take to heart. And I've attended a few meetings in and around town that have me a little worried. So here goes. If you want to move up the political ladder, then you need to start by acting like leaders. If you want to make a name for yourself, you need to create an educational environment that shows that we have exceptional programs, that you meet the needs of our students. Our district needs to compete with other exceptional school districts. Ask yourselves, are you directing the superintendent or is she directing you? She is an advisor to you, and this is not a complaint against you. This is just my advice. You need to ask yourself, are you receiving all the information to make good decisions? Right now, I see staff, whoever they may be, making decisions before it comes to you as a board. I sat in a 2x2 meeting the other day, and it was very apparent that some information has never gotten to the board. They're not your negotiators. They should not be your decision makers. That falls upon you as board members to the public. We are your boss. You are the superintendent's boss. She is the employee's boss. So there is a chain of command. They need to gather this information because I'm sure people contact them every day to talk about different things. The one item in particular that I'm worried about is the fact that the City of West Sacramento wants Westmoreland properties, the old Westmoreland property and the new Westmoreland property. You need to think very, very carefully how that goes forward. You need to have all the information brought to you, and you need to make the decision whether you want parks on that property or not. You need to meet with the public, have maybe an open forum one day to see what they're interested in having done to those fields. If you can't keep them up, then, maybe you want to consider the city. But I'm telling you right now, I, as a board member, allowed the city to take some of our properties and make them into parks. But it was in a time that was not as dangerous as today. We have things going on all around our community, all around the region, that make it really easy having a park next to a school. And so my advice to you is to make sure you have all of the information that you need to make decisions critical to us and our children.
Very good. Danny Lanford on Agenda L.
Pat's so tiny, I gotta raise the podium. Hi there again, guys. So last night at the nauseating, very long city council meeting, they proved to me that they don't care about the safety of the children of this community. So I'm counting on you guys. About an hour ago, you probably haven't even had a chance to see it, there was a letter posted on the web, on the World Wide Web, from the West Sacramento Police Officers Association sharing the issues that the alarming rate of police officers are leaving this community, and that the 1% salary raise that they just were offered by the city is not going to cut it. If you go on Megan's Law and you look at the registered sex offenders in this community, you will have your mind blown. And the fact that the city wants to put that Sycamore bike trail directly behind the current Westmore Oaks property should scare each and every one of us in this community. I don't even have kids in the school district anymore, but I am passionate about this community and our children and the school district. I, as a taxpayer, pay for the taxes either way, city, school district, but the city is counting on you guys to pay for everything. I sat at that 2x2 meeting. I heard the mayor say, there's no money in the Parks and Recs department to pay for these parks that they want to put in. He said it was in the minus. He also said, on countless times, that you guys have a better flow of money situation than they do. I respectfully requested that they remember the rec center's funding is a debt we carry in the school district. They don't. There's so many issues that are concerning. I am concerned over the letter of intent that was given a year ago to the city. Did you guys give the direction of the superintendent to give that letter? I have a copy of it, so I know exactly what it says. Ms. Flint's right. They want their hands, and they've wanted their hands on the old Westmore Oaks, which is currently the failing charter school, which is a whole nother bag of issues with me. But we can't just give up those properties. Our kids need those spaces to run in, and the current Westmore Oaks, I don't understand why 7th and 8th grade kids aren't being able to use fields to prepare them to walk into a high school situation. Again, along a whole another issue. The city's going to expect the school district to clean up the bus yard if you allow them to have that property for their trail. We don't have that money in this budget. You guys know that. But they're going to expect it. There's contamination all over there. Confusion is all over in the community because too many people are saying too many different things. Please be as transparent as possible. I know my time's up. I just want to say the communication problems that are coming when Cindy Tuttle's saying, oh, the city, or Washington Unified is going to allow West Sac Little League to play on those fields. But yet the school district's saying, oh no, that conversation's never happened. These are the kind of problems. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another comment by Danny.
N1.
Yes, N1.
No, not yet.
No, I'm sorry, not yet. Okay, and 0. No, I'm sorry, Danny. Calling you for something that you're going to comment on later. Okay, so let's move on to board and superintendent comments. And let us start with board member Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez. Thank you.
All right, I don't have any committee updates to go. I do want to share that I visited the buddy program with the high school students coming over and being bused over to our elementary schools. And it is the process to determine which students participate is teacher recommendation, school site recommendation. And it was a very special process to see. I went to 2 of the schools, although there are others. So I stopped by Westfield and Elkhorn. And I just heard some really special conversations. And I think anytime we can connect our kids across grade levels is going to be a really positive thing. It was neat, too, to hear the high school kids talk about what elementary schools that they went to as they were connecting with the others. And I know that some of our school sites are also looking into, I believe Elkhorn was one that presented to us about the buddy programs that they're doing as well with kids. So thank you to all of staff for all the work that went into that. They were really special and meaningful meetings. And then right across the street, we just had StuCon going on, and this is their second year, right? Yeah, and I think they doubled in size at least. It was really incredible. I got not sidetracked. I got to talk to some kids about what they were doing, and I was so immersed in it that I couldn't make it to every single spot. I just wish that I could have stayed there all night. Not that I'm not happy to be here. But it was really incredible. And getting to listen to some of the high school students talk, just one example of many, but talk about a presentation they put together on what college they're going to go to. And they talked about how they went in and researched what interests they have and their passions and what fields they might want to go into, and then were able to look up a college based on that. They looked up what is in the area of the colleges. They looked up costs, how much it costs, and a whole wide array of things that they put together in the presentations. And one student said to me, I'm no longer going to go to this school after all the research. I now think I'm going to go somewhere else. And another one said, nope, this is where I'm committed to going. And it was really insightful conversations to the point that I had to ask them what grade they were in, because I thought I was talking to high schoolers. They were very articulate and had really well done projects that were completely student-centered. And so I really appreciated getting to see those. It was very special. And there were a lot of teachers over there who give up their time to be there and spend a lot of extra work making sure that they're prepared to bring that technology into the classroom. So I really want to thank the teachers. I want to thank our technology department, some of who are here tonight. Because it really is magical, and other districts are not doing this. I mean, this is just a very high level of work, and it's, I think, the only thing that we do that's kindergarten through high school, through 12th grade, so you can talk to kids at every level coming together. I want to thank the choir and soccer for being here tonight, too. It's wonderful to get to celebrate our kids and see everyone here tonight, so appreciate that. And I also talked to some parents, so I was next door, about Sly Park, and they've been going all year long. Our kids are going, and I'm really appreciative to the district and the priority we've made to help fund that. And outdoor education, it is so important for kids. I just took my own students to outdoor education, and it's a lot of work to fundraise and to get money. And I'm so glad that in this district we made a priority of sending our kids there and taking that burden off of them. And I will end with just 2 quick points. One is I heard about a charter school conversation, and the charter school that was I forget the name of West Sac Early College Prep is now dependent charter, and so those are now our teachers in our program, and so that has been really re-looked at and looked at very closely, and our hands are right in there real close, seeing what they're doing every day, and it's some exciting work. And I appreciate the conversations about Westmore Oaks, and I think they're important conversations to have, so thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Kobe Pizzotti.
Yeah. First, I wanted to say, because last time I had to leave early because I was feeling really, really sick, that I participated in the Read Across America Day and Principal for a Day at Elkhorn. And every time I go to Elkhorn, I tour, the whole campus, but I really take special notice of our dual immersion program there. And I am just absolutely floored each time I go there and see how these kids are just soaking up Spanish and really being able to communicate at such a young age. And I am floored each time I go there. So I did want to say, thank you to the whole team there at Elkhorn for making me feel so welcome and putting on such a great, show of, the type of work that you're doing there. And also, thank you for the plant. I do appreciate that. Also, let's see, on the 14th, I just wanted to say I was on the campus at River City High School during the walkout on the 14th, and I am so impressed and I was so moved by how our students behaved and handled themselves and respected those 17 people that died, and they honored them in such a powerful way. It certainly made me tear up, made Superintendent Luna tear up. I was very moved. And from 10 a.m. to exactly 10:17 a.m., they stood there in silence and then turned around and walked back to their classroom. No monkey business, no nothing. It was so moving and so powerful that it was, something that made you very proud, proud to see our kids behaving that way. So I just wanted to say thank you, Principal Moisich, for, being on campus and letting me take part in that and see the whole thing transpire. It was very organic and student-driven. Also, I was across the street with Trustee Kirby Gonzalez at StuCon, and seeing some of the things that are being done over there, simply it escapes me. My simple little mind can't, even begin to grasp how they handle, robotics and creating an entire robot that has moving parts and grasping things with the arms. To me, it's just fascinating. So I was just so incredibly proud of our kids at StuCon. So, and then I wanted to say congratulations to the soccer team of both the boys and girls, especially the boys for repeating again. That was a first for them, and the girls. I want to say a special congratulations for winning sections, because I understand what sections means, and it is a big whoop. If you know what I mean. That is a really big deal, and it's not something that comes around very often, and especially. Coach Singh says his starting lineup, he's only losing 3 seniors. So it's something to look forward to. You've built a program that is going to, just continually grow and grow and grow and get better. And I'm really impressed. And I just wanted to make sure you got the recognition for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Lisa Cruz.
Well, we don't want to swell Kamal's head too much. But Kamal, he says bring it. Kamal is an excellent coach, but he's also more than a coach. If you go on that campus, he is on the field, but he's off the field. He's always smiling. He's always very positive. The girls have nothing bad to say about him to his face. But except for the one in front, probably your daughter. But it's always been a positive program, and I really congratulate you and all the hard work you and your family do for this school. So thank you very much. We did, President Alcala and I had our first 2x2 meeting. Superintendent Luna was there. And it was entitled a special meeting, and in fact, it was a makeup meeting because the city canceled our meeting in February. And part of our meeting, I'm going to go ahead and report. It was a good meeting. We talked about communication with the city and the school district and others finding out things through social media or other people in the community before we actually get to know it. So we're talking and working on that relationship with the city. And with that, we decided to return 2 monthly meetings. They were every other month, I believe, and preparation for being on the 2x2, I pulled the agendas for last year, and there wasn't very meetings that were had last year. There's a lot of cancellations. There's a lot going on in our community between the city and the school, and we thought as a committee that we could meet once a month, and I encourage other board members to please give us items to talk to about the 2x2. There were some comments by the city that our meetings weren't very productive last year, dismissing some of the items such as the school talking about putting stop signs here, stop lights there. They didn't feel like that the 2x2 meeting was the appropriate place to do that. I really encourage us to have something on that meeting. They will be every month, starting in May, because we had our special one just this last Monday. We are foregoing the April meeting, but starting in May, we're going to have one every month. And in May, not only at the 2x2, but here, it's my understanding, and please, President Alcala and even Superintendent, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We talked about the Sycamore Trail updates, and I believe in May, they're going to be discussing the landing point to the Sycamore Trail. There are no current talks that I know of or the city knows of about finalizing any plan through Westmore Oaks. There was a request for a certain design, and it was not well taken by the school district. We did not accept it, and so we haven't had any further discussion. So all we know is in May we're going to have a discussion about a landing point, and they'll be coming here and we'll be going there. As far as the Westmore Oaks Fields discussion we had, there was a letter of intent on April 18th signed by the superintendent, and it was a letter of intent to support the development of recreational use on portions of Westmore Oaks and Washington Middle College High School properties. And at this point, it's just an intent. There was no MOU signed or anything, so there's no discussions. You know, there's no MOU, there's nothing set in stone. Those are discussions that'll happen down the road. The other thing that I was interested in was the Liberty project, the new housing that's going on out there. We hear a lot of discussion. As you know, there is a spot out there for a new school, and we asked the city, where are you on that? And everybody's ready, but no building's going on. So that also was at a standstill. And one of the final things that the city brought to us for our future board 2x2 was the MOU with the River Cats and the disbursements of tickets they do to our city. So that was something we did talk about. I do encourage the city and the school district, if there are any communications occurring on any of these items, I, as a board member, not sure about it, and I really encourage the district to keep us advised, as well as the city. I don't think any of us like reading stuff on social media or seeing it anywhere, and then, you know, we're asked questions and we're like, we don't know. So I guess don't believe the hype you read, but hopefully we'll have better communication between the city and we can get the correct information out to the community. I also attended, I'll call it the Riverbank, the school walk-in, because I was at an elementary school and it was absolutely fabulous. I was at Riverbank Elementary. The staff was wonderful there. They posted big butcher papers on the walls throughout the quad, and at 10 o'clock, the older children came out, the 6th through 8th graders, and they all wrote on the posters. Rest in peace, thank you. The one little diagram that really got me was a young lady drew a picture of the high school in the clouds, the name of each victim. And it really opened up conversations. I heard a young man really talking to one of the staff saying, I know it happened at a high school, but it can happen here too. And it opened up conversations even with our younger kids. And it was really a positive event. Some of them, one class did teardrops and wrote the names of the victims and posted it. And another class made buttons, smile more, just positive things. So each one of the classes and everybody there just participated in a positive way. And it was a good way instead of walking out and not being on the campus. So I do thank Riverbank for that. Also, for the seniors, it's an exciting time. The prom is coming soon. And on social media, there's been a lot of talk about swapping prom dresses. And I said, well, what about suits and tuxedos for the boys? It's always about the girls. So there are a lot of people in our community willing to donate old prom dresses and things. I know they're taking them to the high school, and I'd hate for senior girls or boys not to go to the prom because they can't afford a suit or a tuxedo or a dress. So if you have something in your closet that you might want to get rid of, contact River City. And finally, Stan left before I could point him out, but appointing talking point maybe for the future, hopefully the near future, is everybody that has a high schooler know that senior year is very expensive. And senior portraits cost an awful lot. And our students have to go to Elk Grove, and they have to pay a fee just to get their photo in the yearbook. I would like to see some talks in the future of maybe finding someone more local, something where the kids can actually go on campus, and making it a lot less stressful for parents, and seeing what we can do for the seniors there. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Jackie Wong.
I will try to keep it brief. So a couple of weeks, was it this last week, that President Alcala and I were able to be part of the CSB Advocacy Day, and our call was for full and fair funding. Right, so there are lots of requirements of the local control funding formula, and over time, we're actually not necessarily funded to do it all and do it all well. So that was our call to action. We were able to meet with several of our representatives, including Assemblymember McCarty and Senator Dr. Pan. I was kind of like Senator Dr. Pan. And a few others that President Alcala will update folks on, but it was well received. And I think for me, in the discussion with Assemblymember McCarty, he was very impressed with everything that was happening with Washington Unified. He's like, well, I'm doing a bill on this, this, and this. And he said, well, you guys really are investing in English language? Yeah, we are. You're investing in preschool with LCFA? Yes, we are. So it's a good thing that he's asking for more money in categorical money, but I'm like, well, yeah, you should come and highlight what we're doing. Yes, are you doing restorative justice? Yes, we are. So it was more of, what would you do with more money? It was more of like, compensate our teachers and a bunch of other things that we felt were important, right? Which is part of the group around the table. I was also able to actually be part of the annual Crocker Art Student Exhibits this year. Really proud of our two students who were highlighted from Southport. And I know Nakipa wasn't able to be there, but I videotaped everything, took pictures, and it was, it's always such an amazing event. And thank you guys all. BJ before Jackie, right? For investing in VAPA, just because just the bright smiles on these two gentlemen's faces, and one of the students brought out his 91-year-old grandpa, and it was just so beautiful and just such a special thing. And so thank you for always inviting us, Nakiba, and that was really, really special. I thought I'd be a little bit late because this year is also the Asian Pacific Youth Leadership Project. I know that we talked about the Chicano Youth Leadership Project at Davis, but I am part of a board that actually helps organize a statewide conference for 50 students across the state to learn about civic engagement and the legislative process, and to kind of hone in on their voice. So next year, if you are a junior and senior, please do apply, because it's a great learning opportunity. But that's also where I actually met a lot of my mentors, one being Karen Yamamoto, who was a 15-year teacher at Westmore Oaks, and retired. And I got the privilege of actually testifying at a hearing recently for her to be appointed now on the STIRS board, so as the retiree on that board, and she kind of brings a lot of your voices to kind of that investment. So really, really proud of her and that appointment. And yesterday, after driving 4.5 hours from San Luis Obispo, was able to be part of the advisory committee for the Restorative Justice Youth Court that we'll hear a lot about later. And I'm so excited about what's in store for us, and there was such great energy. So looking forward to that presentation. That's it for me.
Okay, wonderful.
One thing, and so StuCon, I apologize that I wasn't able to make it, and my daughters are bummed that I did not allow them to participate this year because we had conflicts. But I just wanted to kind of also note that just the wonderful technology programs that of the students who are not even at StuCon, right? Like, so for my first grader to say, Mama, I know how to code, and I'm in first grade, I have no idea what that means. I'm glad that you do, and look at this program, and I'm like programming these things and these robots, so, which is really amazing for all of our teachers across the district who are teaching our students to be 21st century learners, so really proud of that, too. So lots of good things happening in Washington.
Definitely, thank you. Well, you heard that we went to the California School Board Association Legislative Action Day, and you gave a great report on what we were out there doing. We did actually meet with one more member, with Assemblywoman Cecilia Aguirre-Curry, who is in our adjacent part of our YOLO. She's a YOLO Assembly member, so we also met with her, and then I had a chance to just say hello to Bill Dodd, who's in our adjacent also YOLO Senate. He's the senator for YOLO out that way. So we actually met with quite a few individuals. Let's see. Well, let me begin by telling you that on March 16th, I had a great opportunity to meet with the PTO presidents and with Superintendent Luna. The most prevalent topic, which seemed to be on everyone's mind, and everyone here knows that it's children's safety in light of most recent shootings in Florida. I mentioned to the parents that WSD was noticed by the Yolo County Grand Jury as being the role model for school safety, with our comprehensive plan, from facilities to the procedures that we have. Other topics discussed were bullying and our plan to implement ethnic studies as part of our high school curriculum. Parents expressed that the ethnic studies curriculum was an excellent addition to our student education, and the hope is that we could introduce more culturally sensitive curriculum at a much earlier age. Yesterday, I, along with my granddaughter, Aurora Alatorre, and she'll be attending River City next year, testified before the Assembly Education Committee at the state capitol. It was in support of Assemblymember Jose Medina's AB 2772, which is the mandatory ethnic studies graduation bill. This bill is especially important because our children's education must be complete to understand and appreciate the beauty and the contributions of all ethnic groups. And our global modern society interaction and collaborations of diverse citizens will be part of their 21st century economic, social, and political culture. Our students will be well prepared. Next week, I will be attending the California Association of Bilingual Educators Conference in Sacramento, which will be attended by 8,000 teachers. Dolores Huerta will be our keynote speaker. Other speakers include Tom Torlickson and Elodia Lampkin, who's a friend of mine. She's a superintendent out in Lodi, is the president for CABE, and she's also extended the invitation to any of the board members here who would like to attend. Finally, I want to invite parents, students, and staff who may be concerned about school safety to attend the League of Women Voters Candidates Forum on April 3rd, 2018, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the West Sacramento City Hall, right here, on West Capitol Avenue, to discuss school shootings and other issues. The forum, sponsored by the West Sacramento League of Women Voters, will provide an opportunity for parents to ask candidates for Yolo County District Attorney, Sheriff, and Supervisor about their plans to prevent school shootings. Since 2013, there have been over 300 school shootings, including the recent Parkland High shooting in Florida, in which 17 people were killed. Thus far in 2018, there have been 34 school shootings. Last week, students at River City joined national walkout protesting the nation's school shootings. Students will have an opportunity to attend this forum to voice their concerns about school safety to Yolo County candidates. The Yolo County Grand Jury has determined Washington Unified District is the model school district in Yolo County for school safety. Bullying and juvenile justice are problems that plague education. Bullying can lead to a victim's loss of confidence and other detrimental effects. You have an opportunity to ask these candidates how they plan to work with school officials to prevent or halt bullying. Thank you. We will now go to superintendent comments. Linda Luna.
Thank you, President Alcala, Board of Trustees, staff, and guests. This evening, my update is going to be part 2 of my last update from the last board meeting. And if you recall, I ended the last superintendent update at our previous meeting with reading the book called It Takes a Village. So I'm going to continue that theme because we're in some pretty trying times right now in our society that affects education. Because the trying times affect people, and education is about working solely with people. So what I'd like to focus on this evening, I don't have a lot of places of photos that I normally show. What I'd like to do is just streamline one theme. And that one theme, to continue the concept that it takes a village to truly raise children for the future. So there's the cover of the book that I read last meeting, and I added one illustration there, and that's about teamwork. Because in a village, what the kids learned when I read that book to the 3rd grade class over at Westfield School was what they learned is that in the village, every person has a responsibility to make the village a community. And what they learned in that book is that every person in the village has to work together as a team to encourage, to support, and to really help instead of hinder. And that's what the difference is in making a community within a village. So we're going to keep that theme in the next few slides. Referring to the March 14th student walk out, walk in, all schools did participate in some manner. A variety of classroom activities, student-led discussions, staff supported and facilitated through very sensitive conversations. That's the professional level of our staff. I happened to also be on River City High School's campus, and it was a very moving time. It was, high school kids have a very bad rap. They really do. They're kids. And we expect them to act like adults. Quite frankly, most of the time, they behave better than adults. But they're kids. And so part of the rap that they tend to get is that we don't think that they're capable of really being very thoughtful and reflective. And quite the contrary, on that day, on March 14th, we saw the opposite at River City High School. The students initiated 17 minutes of silence and reflection. There were hundreds of kids. Not all 22 kids came out, and actually I think Principal Moisage is pretty grateful for that, because that's a lot of kids in the middle of the quad. But there were hundreds. We predicted about 300 kids. And our kids are learning about what it is about being a good citizen, about how things in the world affect us here at home. They're learning that. And so this 17 minutes of silence and reflection was student-initiated and student-monitored, by the way. The adults, the staff, we stood out in the perimeters, and the kids congregated together, and they monitored themselves to ensure the silence. It was very moving. So there's just some snapshots of that time. I also want you to know that school safety is our #1 priority, and we are fully committed to that. Our school plans are coming forward to the board tonight. Our school plans are reflective of what the California Department of Education have as a template, and they expect every single school district in California to provide one. Really what it is to ensure that there's language in there and that there are certain components that every school district should have, and that's what you're going to get tonight. But what I want the board to know is that our work hasn't stopped just by giving you these safety plans or by having a shout out by the Yolo County Grand Jury. We are taking it to a whole different level in terms of our organization of our safety at our schools. I want you to know that we are putting together plans that deepen the safety plan, and we're going to bring those back to the board. This is going to be an ongoing plan and not just a once-a-year requirement that the state asks of us. I also want you to know that this is a picture of our site administration. What we did was we added more meetings, and every administrator came because it was the topic of student safety. So they came in the evening to really vet out what do our schools look like and are we ready. We did 2 of those. And so we're going to be even bringing more information to the board. We are currently looking to prepare a presentation for the board to consider services to help our district to become even better equipped in our school safety. And that's going to include things like vulnerability assessments, training for all of our staff of different emergency responses, tabletop exercises, which not every school district does, but that's how you know what to do, is to actually go into a scenario and practice it. We're even looking at having this program help us create an app for our phones to have readily accessible resources during the emergencies, because you're not going to have time, or do you think about finding the binder of our safety plan? So there's a lot of work in action, and we're looking at our neighbors at Woodland. We're looking at our neighbors in Natomas who have a system like this in place where communications are talking all over across the district. So I just wanted to let you know that our work has not stopped, nor will it, and we will continue to bring safety updates and safety information to the board, especially in this time. So thank you, President Alcala, for attending our PTO monthly Coffee with Linda. This is a really dear hour and a half with our presidents, because they come and they talk about their schools. They love their schools. And they also come with really good feedback and suggestions. They are on the ground. They hear the teachers. They represent the teachers. And I really appreciate that, because they're seeing it from a parent's lens. So thank you, President Alcala, for attending that, and it really was the main topic about safety in our plans. And they also brought it to another level of training for staff, not about safety, but are our staff trained about how to help with mental illness or symptoms of? And we haven't even walked that ground. You know, we haven't thought about that. Nobody has. And so that was the feedback from our parents, and so we're going to start taking a look at some of that. So in the theme of It Takes a Village, I want you to know that our West Sacramento Police Department went over to Riverbank, and as partners and friends in our school safety, they brought their dog Bolo and allowed the kids to just be familiar with the canine program and what police officers do, and you can see the kids just love them. And so we thank our partners in our village, in our community, the West Sacramento Police Department. We also have other local partnerships, such as our county office, particularly in the mental health services and student services. President Alcala has already mentioned this, but we have partners in our city that teach our children also. So thank you for bringing that out, but I had a slide on this actually in regards to April 3rd. They want to hear from students. They want to hear from parents about the thoughts about school shootings and school safety. Our other partners having to do with the city and Yolo County Health Services, they have a celebration of an opening in regards to First Responders Mental Health Urgent Care Center, which is right there at the county office here in West Sacramento off of Jefferson, across the street from the police department, where our county supervisors and services are located. But they're opening a new program having to do with mental health urgent care. And so we've been invited to attend and celebrate and hear more about what this program, what these services may be able to offer, and then partner, of course, with our district. So we also had outside people come into our community and into our village. So today, Yolo High School had their college and career fair, and it was packed. It was pretty neat, too. So Yolo High School students had one-on-one group time, FaceTime with people coming into our community to provide them opportunities for their futures. So these are pictures about career opportunities. So I, of course, took that one on the left because it has to do with coffee, and that's Starbucks, and we all live on coffee here. So that was an opportunity. We had 2 kids sitting there looking at what is a career like under the Starbucks Corporation. We also had a National Holistic Institute there to talk about their industry and what is available for jobs and careers. Of course, our colleges were there. I just took a picture of Sac City College there, but we had other colleges that had posts there. We also had military available to talk to kids. So we had different options for kids for college and career. So I'm going to end this part with YOLO's College and Career Fair with some entrepreneurship. So here's a senior at YOLO High School. And I took a picture of her because I have to make sure that I can see this correctly here. She has started a little bit of a business on her own, having to do with some art. She's an artist. She loves art. And her friends were just sitting around, and they have created designs called Shibuya Squids. And that's what her T-shirt actually is, because, you know, squids, the ink and all of that, right? So she's starting a business just by design and creating. I also want to let you know that we've had successes come back to serve us. And so we have there Mrs. Nguyen, who's an English teacher over at YOLO, taking a picture with one of her students from 8 to 9 years ago. This is a former YOLO High School student who is currently working at American River College and came back for the College and Career Day to come back to YOLO to recruit and tell them what can happen working at a college. So kudos to YOLO for hosting a really great college and career fair. I'm going to stay with YOLO now, because we have people in our community that are part of our village here that I want you to know about. YOLO High School has opened a new elective called the Farm to Fork elective. We're calling it an elective right now because it's not A through G approved for them yet. At the River City High School, it's A through G approved, and at Bright. But here, this is just the beginning. So they have a Farm to Fork elective, and it is in partnership between the high school and the Fiery Ginger Farms. So what you see pictures of are the kids are actually getting hands-on, real-world learning experiences right next door to their high school. I love these 2 pictures because they're enjoying the fruits of their labor. And, you know, you might ask a kid, what is a radish, or what does a radish taste like? I can tell you right now, I don't know what a radish tastes like. I've never eaten one. So for that student right there, he grew it from the seeds, was able to taste it and know how to use it. The young lady there, they were growing kale, and so she's making healthy food, right, as part of their fruits of their labor. So this is what the real world learning is about, and it's happening at YOLO High School. Pretty amazing. Want to thank our partner in our village, Rayleigh's, because Rayleigh's gave $10,000 to be able to do this Farm to Fork elective, specifically for YOLO. So we give a shout out and thank you to Rayleigh's, and that's the community, the village, the partnership that makes it work so that we can make a brighter future for our students. Lastly, I'm just going to say, you know, it's kind of corny sometimes. People say, oh, well, you know, it takes a village. That That phrase came from many years ago. But if I walk back into my slides, the people in our village, we started with our students. The other people in our village, we had staff and employees, and that right there, I will never forget that day. That was our first day of school this year in August. It was wild, wild. It was loud and wild, and everybody was excited to be here. Parents are part of our community. We had that in our slides. We had our local law enforcement. We have local civic organizations. We have our County of Yolo student services and family support services, mental health services. And then we saw another part of our community giving back to our high school kids so they have opportunities to learn real world opportunities. It's about the together, how we support one another. We can achieve more, and we will by working together. So I want to thank the board for always supporting, always, and for giving the direction of how our students can have brighter futures in West Sacramento because of the decisions that you're making for their education and for their well-being. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are now moving on to information items. N1, Youth Boxing Program, Mr. Trino Zavala.
Thank you. I grew up here in West Sacramento, born and raised. I got former world champion Willie Horin right here, born and raised here in West Sacramento. He was a world champion. I'm a champion, ex-champion boxer. But as you know, you used to come and give out the certificates at our yearly boxing clinic, okay? And we did a boxing clinic for 4 years in a row with the hopes that we'd get a boxing gym here in West Sac. And a lot of people, you know, we have a lot of world champions and amateur champions that come out of West Sacramento. We had a lot of champions come out of this neighborhood. And, and I'm here just to plead with you, that if we can get help from you guys to get a boxing program going. I helped get one started in Woodland, and it's very successful. We keep at-risk youth out of trouble. We keep them off the streets, and we got them teaching them respect, obeying the laws, and they're doing good in school. And I'm coming here to plead if we can get a boxing gym with help from you guys, because when we boxed here back in the late 70s and early 80s, where me and Willie trained, it was the Bright School. We had a boxing gym there called River City Boxing Club, and it was at the Bright School, and we had it there for, I think, 5 years. Many champions came out of that gym. Kept a lot of kids. We didn't have a gang problem there in West Sacramento back then. And then once they took the boxing gym, the kids had nothing to do no more, and it blew up here in West Sacramento. Now they got a gang injunction here, in West Sacramento. But, I have Shotgun Benny Garcia. He's a very well-known boxing coach. He has 97 champions, Benny, 97 champions, And got Willie right here. We're willing to come up here in West Sacramento and start a boxing program, get it started, and I know it takes money to get it started, but, we just want to see if we can get some help from the school board, to get something started for our youth here in West Sacramento, because we're all from here and we want to give back. We want to give back to our community. And I did it for 4 years in a row with the boxing clinics, and you've seen how very successful it was. Every year we had 60 kids, 50 kids, all races in there, and it was beautiful, and, Benny and Willie, they have all the boxing equipment. They have the rings, they have everything. We just need a location. Benny's a nonprofit. He's a nonprofit. He can bring his program here and get stuff going. We just want to see if we can get some help from you guys. When we did the boxing clinics, we were hoping that because they were so successful that we would get help from the city to get a gym, but it never panned out. So I'm here just to see if I can get some help from the school board to get something going, for our youth here in Yolo County and in West Sacramento, where we're from. We want to give back.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Okay, Board Member Cruz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Savala, for what you did. And I used to hang out at that Bright Gym, and I didn't box, but I ping-ponged. And you're absolutely right. When it closed,
It went.
there was nothing for us to do. But I remember your family well. I went to school with them. My question to you is, are you not working with the city to do the boxing clinic anymore, or?
I work for the city of Woodland, but I'm the White Grip gang coordinator. I keep kids out of gangs. That's what I do there. And then I work for YCOE, the school, the continuation school in Woodland. So I have 2 jobs actually in Woodland, but my cousin Eddie Savala, he's running the boxing program in Woodland. And I'm trying to come back into my community because we worked hard in Woodland to get that boxing program going. We got it off the ground. It's been on fire for a year and a half. It's packed, 53 kids every day, and it's gotten a lot of praise from the community. And I just, my boss, Jesse Ortiz, he always telling me, why don't you go back to your neighborhood and go do something in your neighborhood?
But we had a clinic for a few years, because actually the first year I handed out medals.
We're the ones that
also.
started it.
Right. So is that not in existence anymore
No,
here?
the boxing clinic, Louis Campos is the one that got the
Right.
boxing clinic going, along with him. And we did it for 4 years in a row with the hopes that we would get us a gym here in West Sacramento, because you guys know we had some bad, good, great fighters come out of West Sacramento back in the 70s and 80s. There's so many that you guys would be amazed. Amateur champions, professional champions, and then it dried up. No more gym, and everything went to Sacramento, and we didn't have no more champions coming out of West Sac because there was no gym.
But did the city stop your boxing program? Did you run out of funding? What happened?
The clinic, I don't know how it was funded. Louis Campos took care of all that, but every year we did it. It did 4 years straight, and then nothing panned out. So kind of like we threw our hands up in the air.
Because I thought it was pretty succful. I mean,
It was.
every year you got more and more students, so I was wondering what happened to it, so.
It never panned out, but I was thinking, because when we had the gym back in the 70s and early 80s, it was on a school, okay? You guys are the school board. You guys, I'm sure you guys got a building here somewhere, in Yolo County where we can put a gym in there and just get it going and keeping kids out of trouble. We got 2 guys right here, a world champion and a well-renowned trainer right here that has everything to get a gym going here. He has a nonprofit. Just help us, We can come in here and just start it up.
Thank you for your
And
information.
we know it takes money.
Thank you, definitely, thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I'll echo the statements. I also saw the summer program and came out and saw what you were doing, and saw the smiles on the kids' faces and the success it had. And so it's important for us as we look at our facilities, which we've been looking at facility updates. And so this will be in my mind as we have those conversations.
Yeah, and if we do get invited back, we will come prepared with the what is that thing you have? The proposal, business, business plan and all that, because, we're ready. We got stuff. We just want to get a location, just a location. And I know it costs money, but, we get a location, it can be made, throw boxing shows. This guy he's one of the biggest. Me and Tony Lopez do fundraisers on his boxing shows. We've been doing it. We did 2 already in his boxing show. We raised a lot of money for Everett Youth. But, if we got the building, the money will come. And me and Willie, and so does, Benny, we know rich people too that would help us, We just need a building.
Okay. I know some of the funding came because we helped Louis get some of that program together. Mr. Zavala we sat down at that table and we got some of it from the California Endowment. But those 4 years I saw that program was fantastic because it wasn't just boys, it was young girls too.
Yeah, it was boys and girls.
It's a fantastic discipline. They really listened and it taught them not just, the physical aspect, but the disciplines.
But we did a follow-up on it, and most of those kids that completed that boxing program went on to graduate high school, went on to do better things, went on to college. A lot of those kids, they went on to do good stuff. And when we did those boxing clinics, we had Loreto Garza, Antonio the Tiger Lopez, myself, Dennis Velez, all ex-champion boxers giving back to these kids, trying to get them on the right track and get them, just disciplined and teach them the art of boxing and self-defense. I'm a strong believer, that if you keep kids involved in sports, they have a less chance of getting in gangs. You know, and that's something that I want, you know, because Broderick, West Sacramento, has always had a black eye because, you know, we have some tough kids, but when they don't have nothing to do, what do? They go get into negative stuff, you know, and you know, when we had the boxing gym, we didn't have a gang problem here. You know, and you got 3 men here, you know, that are willing to come up into this town and get something going. We just need help.
I can attest to, I've been out to Woodland and I've seen that program. It is
beautiful.
incredible. And
It's
I know
beautiful.
the city council was very instrumental in helping you get a
Angel
building out
Barajas,
there.
Angel Barajas and myself and Jesse, we advocated, and they finally said yes. They gave it to us, and it's beautiful. And now I'm in my hometown trying to do the same thing.
No, I think it's a great sport, and I think all the board knows that sports do that.
Keep kids out of trouble.
Right.
And boxing and West Sacramento is known for creating champions because we grow, how do you say, we raise tough kids in this neighborhoods right here. You know, we got some tough kids. You know, how you seen these other teams who are in here, they're all champions, man. We got some tough kids, you know, and I just want to, me and Willie, and we want to put West Sacramento back on the map again.
Absolutely.
You know, Willie was the last one.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And if,
All
you know,
right.
later on, we can get invited back, you know, come back prepared with a proposal and all that, you know, because we just want to get something going, you know?
No, I think that sounds great, and there are a lot of different sports, and it's great also having good mentors around for everyone. So we want to thank you for coming forward to the board, and we will definitely be in touch. Oh, okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we do have a public comment. Danny Langford. You're good? Okay, thank you so much, Danny. Okay, so let's move on now to N2, Educational Pathways Action Committee. Andy Parsons.
Good evening, President Alcala, the Board of Education, Cabinet, and the public tonight. Tonight, we're going to discuss the Educational Pathway Action Committee, or EPAC, which started last year, and we focused on college and career readiness for 9 through 12. In the process of the strategic planning, they wanted to expand it to TK through 12 and became our LCAP Goal 2 under educational opportunities. And with that, we hired a very talented young lady. Melissa Baldwin is our program specialist for college and career readiness, and she facilitated the meetings throughout the year with some very committed teachers and administrators. So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight, what I'm going to do is go over the process that we facilitated with EPAC, as well as some of the recommendations that we came up as a committee. Just to give some background, our mission, when we were working with EPAC, we focused on our mission in regards to engaging our students and making sure that our students meet we meet their needs and we ignite a passion for their learning in school. That follows in line closely with our LCAP goal, where we're continually trying to figure out a way to create an individualized, high-quality educational experience for all of our students. And one of those things that we did, which I'll explain later on, is come up with some recommendations that help ignite that passion for students and engage them in school a little bit more and build relationships with teachers as well. Our LCAP goal, number 2, one of the action items was to expand our EPAC committee this year. And so what we did is we expanded K-12, including different administrators as well as program specialists and TK through 8 teachers across sites, as well as with the high school. One of the things that we did this year was in the fall, we determined existing pathways, and then we tried to figure out, okay, what are the pathways, and then what are the particular programs across sites, and where is, what's lacking, what's missing, where is the lack of equity that we are seeing across sites in regards to specialized programs. We also wanted to focus on creating this district-wide culture that enables all of our demographics to, again, ignite that passion for learning. And so making sure that we have all of our students engaged in something, some sort of niche that makes them excited and gives them the desire to want to go to school because they've connected either through a program or they've connected with a teacher or somebody special on campus. And so what I want to do over the next few minutes is talk about what exactly we did with EPAC as well as the process, and then share with you our 3 recommendations that we came up with. And so EPAC was comprised in 16-17 of admin and directors and 9-12 teachers. This year we expanded that to TK through 8, as well as program specialists, admin, and directors. It stemmed out of our mission and strategic planning, as well as our LCAP. And some of our committee members are here tonight. Let's see, Eric Forsman is here, as well as Julie LaMarin. As well as Anselmo Marin, and Andy Person, and Jenna Rasky. So the goals that we were working on this year for EPAC was we wanted to create a system of equity for students at all schools to make sure that they have access to all pathways across sites. We also wanted to focus on vertical alignment in regards to pathways TK through 12. And then we also wanted to provide 2 to 3 recommendations to move forward, possibly for the upcoming years. The process that we focused on in September, we selected stakeholders across sites, across campuses, different disciplines, grade levels. We wanted to make sure we had representation from as many stakeholders in the district as possible, as well as making sure that we had adequate information so that we weren't leaving anybody out. In October, what we did is during our first meeting, our committee members were tasked with going back to their sites and gathering data on what they have, what current programs were in place, either paid programs, enrichment programs, academic programs, or volunteer programs, and then bring that data back in November so we could figure out, okay, where are the gaps? School A has this particular program, but does B, C, D, and E have it? Okay, well, no. So these are those things that were coming up when we try to really visually see what's missing on these sites. In January, between November and January, what we did was we analyzed the gaps, and then we decided on a few recommendations that I'm going to share with you now. So our first recommendation is to create a summer school enrichment program. The rationale behind this is that it will engage students and give students opportunity to be college and career ready, as well as pursue their passions. One of the things that we are focusing on with the summer school enrichment program is to have students and teachers have an opportunity to explore courses during the summer. And so these could be teacher-led course ideas, they could be student-led ideas. If a particular student asks the teacher, hey, can I have this course, or is this course offered? Sometimes that's just not possible with our master schedule. So the enrichment program would allow students to pursue their passions and allow teachers to pursue or to teach specialty passions as well. The other thing that the summer school enrichment program could help foster is that sense of community, as well as connecting with an adult on campus. And so, we are seeing that the connection is with an adult or some positive member on campus is so necessary for our students' social emotional health. The enrichment program would definitely offer that as a solution. Our second recommendation is vertical articulation of VAPA, world language, history, and social and sciences. The rationale, again, would be continually pursuing the college and career readiness and igniting the passions for student learning. One of the outcomes that we had hoped to have from this vertical articulation is that students would gain exposure to these programs, particularly VAPA and world language, at an earlier age, which would then allow them to be more ready for high school, and then also allow teachers to increase the rigor so that our students are college and career ready when they leave our doors, as a senior. The one thing that we noticed or that we found is, particularly with world language, is there's no world language in the 6-8. And so you go to 9th grade and you start Spanish or French or Chinese or Russian, well, there's an opportunity to have those languages earlier on. There are, of course, expenses and things like that with that. However, if we allow to have particularly the world languages at an earlier level, our students are going to be more successful and more competitive later on in life. Our final recommendation is a creation of survey classes, again at the 6-8 level. And so this correlates with the idea of being college and career ready, as well as articulating the pathways that we have, the CTE and the CTE pathways that we have. So this exploratory or survey class will allow students to learn about new subjects within particular pathways. And so one of the opportunities that this survey class would allow is if a student is interested in biomedical sciences, for example, there's a possibility to have a module created at the 6-8 level so students can gain exposure to that and then start to prepare for high school. Let's say they thought they wanted to be in biomedical sciences, but they really found a passion for culinary arts, or they found a passion for robotics. That would give them the opportunity to figure that out at a younger age, as opposed to doing that during high school when the credits and the college and career path is so pressed upon students. The other option, or the other piece of this that would be really helpful, is that it would help grow our programs, as well as helping with retention and just an overall sense of connection and passion for students learning. Those are the committee's 3 recommendations at this point. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Anybody else want to
Comment? I just love the component of the languages. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, with this global economy, it's great for, our children to be able to compete out there, knowing more than just one language. That's fantastic. And I also like the idea that it seems to dovetail with some of the other programs that have been presented before, where they have an opportunity to actually explore other paths ahead of time and start thinking about maybe what subjects they want to take once they get into high school.
It definitely offers them that opportunity to explore at a younger age, and I think that's probably key to their success in high school.
Yes, thank you.
I have some. Okay, I have 3 comments. One, the summer school enrichment. I absolutely love all of these ideas, and I think they're wonderful. My question would be on sustainability. So have we yet looked at budget with these, or is that a conversation that will come later, or that would come here in terms of sustainability of starting up a summer program like that?
Since I just received these recommendations, but no, we will be looking at budgetary concerns as well as facility concerns as we move forward, because we are moving into some interesting times at the state level. So, but these are great recommendations that we're going to look and see what is feasible to start. So we'll develop an implementation plan.
Okay. Fabulous. And then, and so the world language is that conversation right now, or the recommendation is for 6-8, just to clarify, not yet younger than that, but looking there first.
Right.
Okay. And then, so I guess then my question's a little premature too. For the survey classes, then that would maybe later be coming to curriculum council, fleshed out, that type of thing, as I think about what this might look like.
Yes, we are currently looking at staffing concerns at all the middle schools and the elementary schools to see how feasible it is to add staff, new staff, and to add new classes.
Okay. All right. Lots of exciting things to think about.
Go ahead, Trustee Pizzotti has a question.
What about like space availability? Like if you're adding new classes, and I'm guessing there would be space concerns, wouldn't there?
It depends which school, the capacity of the schools, but it also has to do with the master scheduling and how we're going to place the different classes.
And then, of course, the financial concerns of adding additional time.
Absolutely. And we've actually been looking at this for the past year and a half of how to reorganize schedules, bell schedules, and things of that nature in order to support more electives for our middle school students.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for all your hard work outside of hours, and all the teachers and the members. These are really strong recommendations, but I think everybody's on top of mind is how much does it cost, And if you could prioritize, what are those things? Right, of these 3 recommendations. We'd love to do all of them sometimes, but I'm assuming it'll come back to the board as to what the priorities are.
Absolutely, and it was the direction of this committee to think outside the box, forget about resources at this point, is to come up with what's best for kids and what will be best for our district, and obviously then you go into the logistics and the budgetary concerns.
Any other questions?
I would like to point out, by the way, you might have heard of our College Gear Day. That was Melissa's brainchild, and she's done an awesome job. All the schools on one Wednesday a month wear their gears, and she got a trophy for them. And who has the trophy right now?
Southport.
That's right, Southport. Southport has it. So that's awesome work she's been doing.
All right. Thank you, great work.
Thank you.
So we now move on to N3, Proposed Youth Court for Washington Unified School District. Nicole Latimer, Program Specialist, Educational Services.
Good evening, President Akala, Board of Trustees. I believe it was about this time last year that we, Nicole Latimer and myself, came to you with the proposal to implement a comprehensive framework of a multi-tiered system of supports to really support the whole child, both their academic and their social and emotional and behavioral needs. And in just a few short months, 7 months, Nicole has moved mountains and worked collaboratively with teachers and site admin to implement a myriad of supports for our students, including training, including the Sanford Harmony Buddy program that we are piloting at schools, getting ready to implement Second Step. We've held 3 rounds of Tier 3 meetings where teachers meet with site admin to look at every student by name and by need, coming up with action plans to support them and monitoring them. And I could go on and on. The next step in our journey is to really look at how we can support our students with restorative practices and helping them to be more successful in school. And so at the recommendation of Trustee Wong, we looked at other districts that were models in the state that are implementing youth court. And so tonight, I would like to introduce Nicole Latimer to present to you our proposal. Oh, and another thing that we've done, I want to also give a huge shout out to her. Nicole was instrumental in implementing our buddy program that Trustee Kirby Gonzalez talked about, and I just concur. Hearing the students and seeing them interact elementary with high school, and we've heard staff members say, I've never seen that student so happy or so calm or so engaged. So it's truly making a difference, and I just also want to thank River City and their teachers for the work that they're doing in coordinating this. They're giving up a lot of their time. So without any further ado, Nicole Latimer, Program Specialist on our proposed youth court.
Good evening, Board President Alcala, Board Trustees, Cabinet, and guests. As we move forward, let me just move it back. Okay, that's a little more comfortable. As we move forward with MTSS and our implementation model, we are really working hard to provide some more restorative practice options. And so this is the first of hopefully many options that we bring to you. So what is restorative justice? It's an effective alternative to punitive responses for wrongdoing. It provides justice, repairs relationships, and has a meaningful impact while addressing needs of both the person who inflicted the harm as well as the parties who had harm done to them. And how do we tie that into MTSS? Basically in supporting the academic, social, emotional, and behavioral needs for all of our students. We will be providing this youth court restorative model to provide them a place to interact, provide some restorative circles, also provide the academic piece for students who are interested in criminal justice and those systems. So it's really Tier 2 and Tier 3 support for some students with the behavioral and social emotional component, but it's Tier 1 overall because it's for all of our students within our district. The goals would be a reduction in overall suspensions, which other districts have experienced, and
That's not because we don't want to suspend students. We do want to keep students in school, but the goal would be that through those supports that they're provided through MTSS, they're no longer engaging in behaviors that could cause suspensions. It also increases positive adult to student interaction in building relationships, which affects the overall climate of the school in a very positive manner. So the next two slides are a chart that just compares traditional justice to restorative. So traditional focuses on establishing guilt, where restorative is identifying needs and obligations. The accountability in traditional is punishment, where the accountability in restorative is understanding impact and repairing harm. In traditional, justice is directed at the offender and the victim's ignored. And then in restorative, the victim is a part of the process, as well as the offender and the school. Everybody's got a hand in making things better. For traditional, the focus is on the punishment when rules are broken and harm has occurred. In restorative, it's taking responsibility for a harmful behavior and then repairing that harm and working towards positive. So there's opportunities for remorse and amends, whereas in restorative, whereas in traditional, there's really not that opportunity. And then it's focused on people and relationships versus rules being violated. So restorative youth court is justice by youth for youth, and there are multiple models out there. The model that we would like to move forward with is an adult judge and a peer jury, where students come together and they really work on building the components that would support a student to move forward through the restorative process. So you're using positive peer pressure, and kids are helping kids foster a positive youth identity. So an important component is that the students that are on the jury are not deciding guilt or innocence. In order to be a part of youth court, you have to acknowledge your offense and be willing to go through the process. So you don't have to worry about that piece where kids are kind of pinned up against kids. It's really a group working together to make things better. So these are the kind of cases that we're looking to directly target for youth court for this first year of implementation in 2018-19. It would be referrals by administrators or parents, and then potential expulsion cases unless it's a mandatory expulsion as defined by Ed Code. We're looking at students in 5th grade through 12th grade, just making sure that they can kind of understand the process and the harm that's been done and how to repair it. Oh, and so some sample cases that could be heard would be fights with little to no injury, possessions, or being under the influence, or defacing school property. Those are just some examples of cases that we may hear. So roles in the courtroom, it's run like a regular courtroom. You have jurors, a 4-person, a clerk, bailiff. Those roles are all taken on by students. And then the judge would be a law enforcement or legal volunteer presiding over the hearing. And then for how it will run, it's going to run like a normal courtroom with the students really taking on those leadership roles. And there will be adult supports, teachers and outreach specialists and community members supporting getting those students going. But like in the court that we observed in San Bernardino, the kids really take on the work and they move things forward. So with the teacher component to staffing, we are looking to add it as an adjunct duty for each of the sites. And then that teacher, or if there's more than one teacher, would be responsible for 12 hours, which equates to about 3 youth court dates within the system. So all youth participants will be provided an oath of confidentiality before each court case, and students will be provided training regarding confidentiality prior to fielding the court roles, and then we are going to hold them to that confidentiality to maintain a place in the court, whether it's on the jury or as the respondent. These 2 videos that have been added to the presentation are just some mock trials, so you don't have to worry about the confidentiality in this piece, but these are from the court that we went to observe in San Bernardino. And when you have a chance, if you want to play those videos, it's pretty cool, and they're very true to life with their line of questioning that they ask the students, and then also with their deliberation phase. It was pretty much the same thing that we saw when we were there. So it's a very accurate depiction of how the students respond. And they ask some pretty tough questions of each other in trying to move things forward and figure out the resolution and the plan that would be best for the student and their family. So this is kind of what we're thinking logistically for our court for next year. The court's going to meet twice a month. It's going to start in August and conclude in May. And then sessions will begin at 3 and they'll complete at 6:30. We're going to do a dinner break. We're always going to feed the kids and the volunteers, all the participants that are there. And we are looking to do our main courtroom where we would have restorative circles and other opportunities for the students would be in the MPR, and then have the actual courtroom take place in the boardroom at the district office. So someone would walk the students back and forth and then use the HR meeting room as a deliberation area. So 3 questions to be answered by the defendant that are required would be, what was the harm that was done? How can that harm be repaired? And who's responsible for that repair? So really some reflection taking place there with those questions. And then these are questions that the jury will need to ask to help kind of gauge what they're going to choose for their sentencing. But what impact has this incident had on you and others? What has been the hardest thing for you? And what do you think needs to happen to make it right? So when you're talking about their sentencing, mandatory sentences that will be included are going to be community service and then jury duty, which would be a minimum of youth court hours of 6 hours, which is about 2 youth court jury duty summons. Group counseling and mediation with the victim, if the victim is willing. And then other optional sentences would be reflections, apologies, research projects, educational classes or workshops, and other items provided by community resources that can be beneficial to the students. So hopefully, as our court grows, we'll have more options with the sentencing phase for students to help restore those pieces. So roles of social workers and outreach specialists, they're going to be included from the beginning of this process so that they can help integrate that student back into the school community. Just being involved and being very well informed about the student's case. They're going to have the opportunity to come and support them through court if they choose to do that. And then, so school counseling, referrals to outside agencies if that's applicable, individual counseling, and group counseling. So our goals and outcomes of our court are, of course, foster positive peer pressure, focus on community and relationships, support and accountability, having growth mindset, cultivating mindfulness and the impact of negative behavior, and then that transformation from a respondent to a juror, which we were fortunate enough to see in action, and it's a lot quicker than you would think, and it was very, very powerful to watch those students and how they kind of changed through the course of their court appearance, but also the students who were jurors who acknowledged previous behaviors and how that has made a change and an impact in their life, and then reintegration into the school community. So these are our next steps in our implementation. We're going to continue collaboration with the WUSD and supporting agencies through our advisory committee. We had our first meeting last night. It was a really positive experience, and we have some upcoming meeting dates. These are the meetings for next year. So that group's going to meet in June, and then right before we come back to school in August, and then in February for kind of a mid-year check to make sure we're on target for kind of what we want our court to look like, and then for the following year. Through that advisory committee, we're going to form a restorative youth court steering committee, which will be a little bit smaller group, but kind of more hands-on and making more of the systematic decisions as we're trying to implement our court. And then we are going to identify and nominate 5 high school students to participate in the annual Youth Court Summit. And that's happening at Sonoma State, and they go and stay in the dorms and they get trained. They get to be a part of this bigger group of students that are taking place in restorative justice, and then they're going to come back and train their peers and be a part of our court. So really cool stuff happening, and now I'm ready for your questions if you have them.
Okay, any questions? Okay, let's start with Trustee Cruz first.
Thank you. I think this is a really good concept and a really good start. I participate in the restorative justice in our community, and I also work for a juvenile court, and I have some concerns, and these are just comments and questions to pass on.
Okay.
I know the rest of the board may have different outlook, but I have concerns of it being a court. If we have foster kids or other kids that have been in the court system on a negative impact, that sitting there and having some of their peers judge them may kind of be traumatical, so I would hope that you would do it on a case-by-case basis. As adult restorative justice, we don't treat it as a court. And this seems very formal to me. We treat it very informal, and I know adults and children are different. I'm just giving you some insight of what I have experienced. And I look through the slides, and I'm not, some of them are kind of confusing on the language that is used. I know it's probably going to be cleaned up a little bit, but you refer to like victim when I think it probably should be a person harmed. So the positive language, I think, needs to be cleaned up, when you present it on your final. And also, when I was reading the mandatory sentences and optional sentences, again, I think that should be dispositions. It's too close to court for me. A lot of it is very close to court, and I have concerns with all that would be involved. I see you provided slides. I'm sure the kids probably love it, but to me, it just seems like too criminal for me. Because the restorative justice that happens in our community with our adults are usually 3 adults that sit down from our community with the person. It's very informal. We don't have people looking. We don't have people judging. We don't hear evidence. We ask some of the similar questions. I see a lot of similarity. And then there's just some ideas that your optional sentences that could probably be added. And I know we have Board Member Wong that will probably be going to all these. And so I definitely will probably sit down with her and give her some of my suggestions to pass on to your thing. Not saying you have to use them. I'm just telling you my concerns and
Are
seeing
you telling
this.
her she doesn't have to use them, or I don't have to use them?
No, the whole group. The whole group. This is just things that I've experienced in the community and my day-to-day work life. I think it's a very great concept. I think it's a very good start. But I have some concerns about treating it like a court. And we have kids, and I know they signed a confidentiality agreement, and what happens when that's broken by somebody? It can cause bullying, it can cause a lot of other things so I think we really need to look at this. I mean, sometimes we tend, and I'm not saying this is happening now and here, sometimes we tend to roll out programs very quickly in our district, and not in our district, in community, in life. And I think we really need to look at this before we implement it. But I think it's a very good start and a very good idea.
Thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you.
Okay, Board Member Kirby Gonzalez.
Okay, thank you for this. Thank you for all the work you've put into this. Thank you for the trips you've made and all of the passion. And I couldn't be at the meeting last night because I was still at science camp, but I really want to hear more, and I'm excited about that. I think that for me, this is, so since I'm not quite yet where you are, this is a little bit of a leap, and I heard a few years ago at CSBA, I went to Restorative Justice, and they talked about youth court, and it was really cool to get to hear those pieces. And so, but really digging into this the first time right now, the court terms really jumped out at me, and I especially thought of my 5th grader walking through, I just felt, I feel really uncomfortable with some of those court terms, and I don't know if I just need more information to feel differently, but I don't want to criminalize our little children. So I'm just feeling kind of uncomfortable right now with this. And so maybe it's a language thing, or maybe it's a learning process thing for me. When I think about 2 times a month, just in terms of what's going through my head and where I am right now in processing, I'm thinking of one of the pieces was brought up maybe a fight with little to no injury. And so then I think about, too, how important it is to have that immediate feedback sometimes for kids, because I wonder what that looks like when it takes 2 weeks. I'm just wondering how that looks, because we talk about reintroducing the child back into the class, but they're going to be back in their class, I would assume, if there's an argument that's little to no injury before that time. So restorative justice is, as we know, like a big umbrella, and there's a lot of pieces in there. And so I'm just wondering how this fits in, or if that is, for some situations, if this is the best. Thinking about a student bringing drugs to campus or things like that, then this seems like this could be a really nice tool for that. But in terms of some of the others, I'm wondering if other tools are there. So I feel like I just need to learn a little bit more, but I really appreciate all the work that you put here into this. And so thank you for that as we keep exploring for ourselves.
Thank you. Board Member Pizzotti?
Okay. Thank you. I do like the concept. I do have some questions. And you do use the term respondent, which is definitely a court term. So I'm thinking this is now a court proceeding. Does the respondent get a representative?
The respondent has their family with them during the court proceedings. They sit with them. If you watch that video, you can kind of see the dynamic that's there, but there's no legal representation for them.
Well, I understand that the parent could be the representative, but does the respondent get to confer with the parent while the proceeding's taking place when questions are asked?
They're in there with them, yes. And the jurors are asking both the respondent and the parents questions. It's a conversation being had by everyone in the group.
Okay, and then how does this align with the discipline matrix that we just passed?
So restorative practices were added to the discipline matrix, and there's no, defined, this applies to youth court. It's just an option that sites can use if they determined that that was an appropriate choice for that child and a best fit and something they felt like could move them forward. So it's not set in stone, but it's an option there, one of the tools.
Okay. And then I guess one of the other questions is, have you talked with the Teachers Association and the Classified Staff Association as to whether or not some of the things that transpire in the classroom, would make them feel supported if they felt like a fight was breaking out, that little to no harm was actually inflicted on somebody, but it could be a serious situation where they wanted to send, a child to the class or to the principal's office, and then they feel like, maybe nothing resulted out of that other than, I'm sorry, where I could easily see how that would make a teacher feel like they're not supported, they're not being supported in the actions taking place. While I do understand that it's not necessarily all about the teachers, it does need to be inclusive. So I'm just curious, have you talked to the teachers union and classified?
We invited the entire executive board to our advisory committee panel, and we did have a representative come on behalf of the exec board, and they have now nominated another member to come and be a part of the committee. So they're definitely being heard in their voice.
Okay. And then now I see it as kind of like an opportunity also for the jurors that serve on this. Is there any badging that can go along with them for, serving on a juror or a jury?
We can explore all options.
Because I would love to see that, take place. I tend to agree with Alicia and Sarah about. I do actually agree with you. No, I agree with Alicia and Sarah about the comments about this being a court setting that is kind of concerning in terms of how formal it is, and it may leave a kind of a bad taste in children's mouth. I'm really more concerned about a juror breaking confidence, and what happens? What are the penalties for that? Or is there restorative justice for them. I mean, there's got to be some kind of, deterrent for that as well, other than signing a confidentiality agreement saying that I will not do this. Well, okay, then you go out and do this. What are the penalties? So, and is that going to be, if the penalties outweigh the benefits of being on the jury, then how many jurors are you going to get? So, I guess that's kind of something to consider as well.
Absolutely.
That's all I got.
Okay, great. Board Member Jackie Wong.
Yeah. So thank you for, the sentiments echo a lot of the advisory members and some of the community members about how formal and wise is law enforcement. So, and not just the board, it was a conversation had at the advisory. So this is an initial conversation. Thank you for all the research and the hard work. And there's lots of ways to do this, like whether it be circles or this formal, and that's what the advisory is for, and that's what the steering committee is for. I think that you also may have not mentioned this, is that it's voluntary. Right, and so at first you have to admit guilt, which means the punishment still, I shouldn't say punishment, right? Because again, you taught us yesterday that discipline is different from punishment, right? Root word of discipline is disciple, and to learn from the behavior. So the first things first is that you admit guilt, which I assume something's already occurred, and this is voluntary. So those are big, huge components that young people need to know what they're basically they have to be part of it, because if they're not open to it, it's just not gonna work.
Right.
Right, and so, but yes, this was a really great first meeting, and everything that the board has mentioned was discussed. And WTA and Carmen was there last night and added a lot of kind of good feedback, so appreciate that. So.
Okay, great. And Student Board Member Rosas would like to make a comment.
So I really do love what you guys have. Just to touch on what some of my fellow board colleagues have said, the terminology, I like it, but there's some tweaking that can be done, especially going out to my site. There are some touchy subjects that can really affect some of our students. I don't want to speak just for my site. There's also students at River City, any other site, but definitely my site. And yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you.
And I had just had two questions. Is there ever any monetary remuneration if, let's say, there was something taken from another student? Is that part of the remedy?
I think that's always, up for consideration. And, I've personally been involved in situations where windows have been broken and, we've asked families to replace that. And of course, we would never enforce it, but that's always a possibility.
And could you just elaborate a little on the identity transformations?
You mean from respondent to juror? Is that what you're talking about in the slides?
Overall,
So we actually, when we were there, we had the opportunity to observe a student. We went to 2 different court cases, and so the students go through a transformation just from being the respondent and then the time that they spend going through their restorative circles and kind of repairing those relationships and then becoming a juror. So helping their peers and helping other students through a similar process. And even if the issue is different, going through that restorative process really transforms them, and they have a different lens of how they're viewing potential issues with other people and the effects.
So one example that I think really resonated with me is the student that was up participating in the youth court, what came to school high on marijuana. And through the questioning, it was discovered that his friends had given him the marijuana. And one of the jurors, who was previously a respondent, asked the question, well, do you think you're choosing the right friends? And he responded with, no, but I don't have any other friends. And she said, we are your family. I will be your friend, and I'm having lunch with you tomorrow. And to see that, and at the end, he broke down in tears. The mom was in tears, and he reached out for counseling. That's when I saw the transformation begin. And I just want to add that Nicole had done all the research on this. I was kind of clueless, and I had all of the same concerns that you have. And you don't understand it till you see it. And we are following all of the recommendations from, I'm going to get it wrong, the National Center Association of Youth Courts, which is research-based. They've had a ton of experiences. This is being utilized in districts across the country. And of course, we will take all of the recommendations from our Board of Trustees and from our steering committee. And we will go slow to go fast. There will be lots of training provided for students, for teachers, and for other staff. And one of the things that Nicole didn't mention is in the multipurpose room where they do the restorative circles, they have adults from the community and from our own staff that played games with the kids, and they fed them, and they formed relationships. And we were told by some of the kids that this was the only time they interacted positively with adults. They've never played board games before, and they came they do it every week because it's a bigger district. But they came every week because it was a connection. So that is just one example of transformation.
Thank you. The recommendations, I think, made by the board members, very pointed, and I think that will help you with this program. I have one. Maybe instead of victim, because that always has sort of an unusual kind of, maybe just use what the court does. At least you're better at this. Maybe plaintiff sometimes. I don't know.
No.
And
I don't know if the district attorney's office was one of the partners that came through this, but their language is very, very positive.
Mhm.
They don't use any court
at all,
any court knowledge, any court verbiage. It's people harmed.
Mhm.
They don't, of course, not victim because there's no victims.
No.
And I kind of went through and corrected it as I was saying, but like when you say traditional and restorative, the traditional is justice focuses, but restorative shouldn't be justice identifies. It should just be restorative identifies needs. To take out the word justice and they use the word harm a lot, and again, not victim. So a lot of these words, I think the other word I said was sentences. I noticed sometimes throughout here you use disposition. That's kind of still a court word, but there's just, they have a website, the Restorative Justice, that you could look at, or even reach out to the DA, whoever's in charge of that program now, and just see. Because a lot of what you're doing is crisscross with what they've already done. So why recreate the wheel other than to use it for the children and the site youth? I mean, you've done a lot of research, and it's a great start.
Mm-hmm. Trustee Pizzotti has one comment.
Yeah, I just have one more question about once kind of a verdict has been handed down, and it could be engage in counseling or something like that. Is the child basically on like a probation, meaning if they do not fulfill their obligation under this youth court, in the timeframes allotted or period, what happens then?
What's the benefit?
So the goal would be for students who are doing this in lieu of suspension, that they would not have that suspension. So if they complete their youth court sentence, they go through the restorative circles, then that would no longer be held on their record, on their student record.
Right. Wouldn't it be over a period of time, though, that you're going through all these different...
Yes, it does happen over a period of time. It's,
Right.
they have to do two court appearances as jurors, and then go through the restorative pieces that are decided by the jury.
Okay, so they have check-in points where they have to come back and be a participant, or at some level get counseling or what have you, if it's a fight, anger management, whatever.
Correct, yes.
So, I guess my point was, if they don't participate in that, then they will be suspended?
Well, the suspension is going to happen, that's happened beforehand, because we're having court every 2 weeks, right? So they're going through this process.
So they've already been suspended?
Yes.
This is not in lieu of?
No.
Okay.
But it could be in lieu of an expulsion. Often, traditionally, when a serious offense occurs, we go through an expulsion hearing, and students are expelled, and they go to another district, and that other district inherits those issues and those concerns. And so this is a way to really change that behavior.
I think we could go on and on for a while, because then my thought when you say that, so if a child, they went through the program, so they were up for expulsion, and they do transfer to another school, do you report that they went through that restorative justice?
We would follow all normal expulsion procedures, yes.
But to the county they're going to the school they're going to, do you report that as an expulsion, or do you report it as they went through restorative justice and it's wiped off their record, or is it like it never happened?
It depends on the outcome of what the agreement is. So obviously, we are still in the initial stages
Sure.
of training and researching this, and we still have several months and several committee meetings left. So all of your input we will take and under advisement and do more research. And it really, really is, I think as Jackie said, a case by case. It's a case by case looking at that whole child, and all participants are agreeing to participate in, and they agree to the terms as well.
Anyone else?
No, and just if they don't want to do it, then there's suspensions on record, and they will just move forward, and that'll be on your permanent record, as we've seen in movies. Right, so again, the key component is they have to be willing and an equal participant in this, admitting guilt and then moving forward. And this is really not just about just the suspension. I want to be clear, it's about transforming school climate and the community. Right, because it's bigger than just, I think we're focusing on the actual incident, and the truth is it's bigger than that. But again, just want to iterate the advisory and the echoing kind of the concerns of the board of, I will personally go back and commit to looking at the language and be more strength-based, and we will work that out.
Thank you, everyone, for the very good questions, recommendations, and thank you for what looks to be a very promising program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are moving on to second interim financial report. Paul Desario, Interim Assistant Superintendent of Business Services.
Good evening. I'll make this a long night, so if I make this pretty quick, probably overall comment, this is not a huge difference from the first interim. Maybe I'm not. Do I know how to use this? There we go. So key changes since first interim, we're spending one-time dollars on one-time things such as textbooks and other instructional materials. Our deficit spending does increase, and I'll get into that in one moment. And we have an increase in special ed costs and a decrease in state revenue. And so those things are the changes. So this is a chart that gives you a good look at this fiscal condition over the next, well, really 4 years. So this year, we're going to spend significantly in deficit, primarily spending one-time money. Next year, we go into the positive with a fairly large increase in state revenues. You can see our state revenues grow because we're finalizing LCFF funding 2 years into one. And then, as you can see, the revenue starts flattening out in the out years. And then you can see we have small deficits in the out years. Deficit spending, just quickly, I mentioned this earlier, the deficit spending, district spending in deficit because we're using one-time dollars. By spending one-time money on student needs, spending ending balance wisely. And we can easily postpone these one-time expenditures because they're not for personnel. 1 point to keep in mind is the rising special ed cost. You can see since 2015-16, we've risen approximately $2 million in special ed spending. And always keep in mind, I know this is something you've been hearing for 5 years, CalPERS and the CalSTRS increases. You can see again that in 18-19 and 19-20, significant changes, growth in those two requirements for the district. And basically equal to about 1.5% of salary increase. We'll revise this report with the May revise if there is a significant revision. I'm going to make a prediction, it'll probably be wrong. that there won't be a significant reduction. I've looked at some data that shows that state revenues grew in the fall and are declining in the spring, so I think it's all going to work out pretty much to the projections, which would mean there won't be much of a May revision. For the future, we need to look at facilities and enrollment growth, and then unfunded retiree health care. So with that I'll take questions.
Any questions? Kobe, do you have any?
I want to make sure I have the right handout, because we have two.
You do? I'm sorry. My apologies.
We've got this one.
Oh. The one I was looking at, the one I was
The-
doing was the PowerPoint. I'm not
Okay,
sure what
so
other one you have.
What is this?
That's your narrative from the actual SACS report. So the narrative, what you have on those first 4 pages are the bullet points of what the variances have been. I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, that's fine.
From-
I didn't know you'd given.
Yeah, from first and second interim. So those are parts, we used to have 7 pages of a narration in regards to what happened between first interim and second interim. We bulleted them for you, so it's very succinct, so
Okay.
that you're seeing any variances.
So I had questions on this. I know if you have it in front of you, if you have it
I can-
memorized.
I can-
You don't have it memorized? First of all, the first one is actually a statement, WUSD Scholarship Fund 73. I didn't know is that when people donate into a scholarship?
Yeah, we do have a scholarship fund, and that's exactly what it is.
Can you explain what it is? I've been
I don't know
asking for
more than that about it.
years
I
for
don't
the
know
board
more
to
about
have a
it. I'll have to
scholarship
get back to you
fund.
on that.
Bucks each. And
I'll have to
yeah.
give you I could give you the data on it. I don't have it right in front of me.
Can you please? Because
Oh, sure.
I've been asking
problem.
for years, and I think boards past, other agencies will be glad to put some money in that scholarship fund.
Sure.
So that was
I'll give you the date on it.
That was exciting to see, so that was a good thing.
Okay.
And then I was looking at facilities, page, on the back page, Facilities Fund 21. Says this is a fund that tracks the Measure V bond proceeds and project expenditures. And there's no change. The estimated fund balance is projected to be $25 million.
Correct.
Isn't that half of what we got from the bond?
That's correct. Takes a while to spend the money. There's a big project, Bright, coming up, which is not included in here, so that will drop it some. But there will be a significant ending balance at the end of this year.
So this is probably the monies that's going into Bright, the second phase?
There'll be money going to Bright, the second phase. I'm projecting you'll still have probably 20 million left after you finish that. And we'll be coming back to you on the 5th or the 6th, is it? With a complete review of that program. And I think we did it earlier, so we can do it again.
I'm assuming that money's already earmarked, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's going to get spent. And we're going to spend some on deferred maintenance this summer, fire alarms and technology, to some furniture.
Okay, because we've been asking for a while what the balance was, so I was just surprised to see what that.
Yeah,
was
this
for the
is not
first time
necessarily,
in a
this is
while.
really just a fund balance, which means
Right.
what is actually in the fund, not what
Paid
we've
out.
committed or paid out yet. So it's
Okay.
not really what's budgeted.
Thank you so much.
Okay, any other questions?
Pizzotti, Kirby Gonzalez, Wong,
Okay.
no. Okay.
So this is an action item?
No, it's
information.
No, it's discussion, right?
The action is later.
Oh, later in the meeting, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with your.
No, that's,
I'm
I'm so
learning.
sorry, thank you.
But hope,
We're good. Okay, so now we are moving on to the consent agenda. We have removed items, 11 and 012, thank you. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move.
Okay, motion by trustee Wong, and can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, by trustee Kirby Gonzalez. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you. We are now moving to public hearing, and there is no public hearing. We'll now move to Q, action items. So we will start with Q1, approval of the 2017-2018 Comprehensive School Site Safety Plan, Jerry Smith, Educational Services.
I'd like him to go through each one of them, each page. No, I'm just kidding.
Gigantic, thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Cabinet. You heard a lot of stuff from Linda already previously concerning the school safety plans. This is pretty much what we've gone through annually and brought to you. Obviously, we're in a different situation now. And this safety plans, we're bringing you the very basics that need to come through legally so we can get those passed. But this is going to be a very, very fluid activity for us. We are already starting the process working with West Sac Police Department, Linda and Superintendent Luna, sorry, Linda, and Chief McDonald have already met, as well as myself and one of the lieutenants. So we're starting that process today. Assistant Superintendent Lee and Assistant Superintendent Zario and myself started the process of working with a consultant who specializes in school safety plans, not only in the school safety plans themselves, but the terms that Superintendent Luna brought to you as far as vulnerability issues. They walk the campuses and they help to start you put together a very, very strong plan. So this is going to be a fluid activity for us. The state requires that these are done during the February-March time, which still most of us in education makes no sense. And the fact that you don't have your school safety plan ready to go right at the beginning of the school year, it is going to be our practice, even though it's only due in February of each school year, to have it done at the beginning of the school year. So that way all the changes are made in each one of the plans as far as the emergency response team on each campus are lined up and taken care of. So we're asking just for the passage at this point in time, but do understand this is a long, ongoing process for us so we can get this thing right.
I just had a quick question.
Yes.
I think I heard you say Chief McDonald, was the fire chief also included?
Not yet, but he's going to be, because obviously there are other things besides active shooter type things, there are floods, et cetera, where they become the emergency operations group. So yeah, everybody will be involved by the time we're said and done with this. We're kind of waiting for a little direction from the consultant. We're hoping we'll get a proposal that I assume that we'll be bringing to the board as far as how we would work with them, and then how we intermingle all the different groups that are going to be tied to putting together a really great safety plan. We've been recognized, like you said, by the county of having a real strong one for schools, but reality is this, is that we are educators. We aren't safety planners. We don't know that. That's not our business. It would be the same thing as us asking somebody who's a safety person to come in and teach one of our kindergarten classes. Everybody's got their strengths, and we need the help with that. We have to admit that and know that we're going to, if we're going to get really good at this and make sure that we're taking care of everything to the best of our ability, we have to bring the best people in to help us.
Okay, any more questions?
So I just have one quick question. So all this work that you're doing right now, will that be separate from this document here? Will it be included in these documents? Will
I think
it
it's
be
gonna,
in lieu of? Or?
Yeah, I think it's all going to ultimately be included in those documents.
Okay.
Those are just the base template. Some of them, if you looked at them, some of them are much larger because certain schools put in more, certain stuff. We need something that's very clear and concise and consistent from site to site at all levels. Obviously, each one will have their own individual pieces with evacuation routes, the names of the people that are on the emergency response team at that campus in case you have an emergency situation. But there'll be certain things, I would say that 90% of each one should be the exact same all the way through for each one of the schools.
Good. That'll make it easier for us too.
No doubt.
Late
no
night
doubt.
reading.
Oh boy, I can only imagine that must have been enjoyable.
And I'll just make one small quick comment. And since the technology, some folks are here too, just moving forward, and maybe you've already looked at this, I heard you talk about maybe texting things. And I know in some places too, they have like instant messenger, so it pops up on the computer. And then if a visiting teacher's there and you don't have their phone number, it's nice. I don't know if we have the technology for that or what that would look like, but as you have these conversations, that might be one option that could come up.
I think it'd be very useful, and I think it kind of ties with the app that we were talking about with the person that's going to give us that proposal, and tying that in with the app as well.
Perfect, good, thank you.
Great.
Any other questions? Jerry, just really quickly, I
Yes.
sat in on the Assembly Education Committee, and they have a lot of new proposed laws that are dealing with technology, school safety, and everything that are coming up as well.
It's going to be, I mean, obviously, it's, unfortunately, it took some huge things to make it happen, but if we can jump on the bandwagon and make sure that we get ours taken care of and make them right for our kids, then we're going to be a lot better off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion for approval.
Make a motion.
Okay, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez, the second. Second by Trustee Pizzotti. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimously approved. Okay, we move to Q2, final offer of space to Lighthouse Charter School for 2018-19 school year.
Board of Trustees, I'd like to welcome to our meeting William Schutz, who is our legal counsel in regards to our charter authorizations.
Thank you, Superintendent Luna, and President Akala, and trustees. Good evening. I've been assisting the district with Prop 39 process. As you may recall, anytime a charter school has 80 or more in-district ADA, they can qualify for Prop 39 facilities. And those are outlined in regulations and education code. And back in November, Lighthouse Charter School submitted a Prop 39 request to the district, and they projected 228.48 in-district ADA, which is about 238 students in grades TK through 5. The Prop 39 process is laid out in the regulations, and it has a timeline that's has strict deadlines that have to be met along the way, and it is pretty accelerated. As required by Prop 39, the district board adopted a resolution back in January, if you may recall, making legal findings that the district could not house Lighthouse in-district students at one single site, and that's required by the regulations. And then by correspondence dated February 1st, the district provided Lighthouse with a preliminary facilities proposal offering classrooms and other specialized classroom and non-classroom space at Westmore Oaks Elementary and at the Fallbrook site. And then March 1st, which was another deadline, Lighthouse responded to that preliminary offer. And now we're at that next step in the process, which is the final offer of facilities, which is due April 1st. Now, as you know, Lighthouse is in the process of constructing a new site, and we understand from their website postings that is moving along. The district did inquire as to whether it be necessary to continue with the process, and the latest communication we received from their superintendent was that although construction is proceeding according to schedule, because construction is unpredictable, they cannot waive their Prop 39 rights at this time. So in other words, we read that to mean that they're preserving their right to obtain facilities from the district in case their new site is not ready. So as a result, it's now necessary to issue that final offer to meet that regulatory deadline of April 1st. And staff, the Superintendent Luna, in consultation with district staff and legal counsel, is recommending approval of a final offer of space to house Lighthouse's in-district students as contemplated in that preliminary offer, with students to be housed at Westmore Oaks and Fallbrook sites. The final offer of space will include exclusive use of classrooms, shared use of specialized classroom space, and some exclusive and shared use of non-teaching space at both those sites to satisfy that reasonably equivalent requirement of Prop 39. And Superintendent Luna and our designee will prepare and issue the actual detailed final offer of space by April 1st, as required by Prop 39. If Lighthouse notifies the district that it intends to use the offered space by May 1st, which is that next deadline, then the district will be obligated to offer space, and Lighthouse, by accepting, will be obligated to pay the district a pro rata cost per square foot according to a formula under the regulation. And then a final facilities agreement will be negotiated, and that would come back to the board at a later meeting for ratification approval, and we're looking at June or at some point. And then should Lighthouse not notify the district in writing whether it intends to occupy the space by May 1st, then the space can continue to be used for district purposes, and there would be no obligation for facilities next year. That's kind of where it's kind of been a process. It's all dictated by the regulations step by step, and we're just at that final step, and the superintendent's looking for approval to move forward with that final offer.
Okay, we do have two comments before we start asking questions. I'm sorry, we have two public comments.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
It's all right, thank you. We'll call you back. Pat Flint.
Thank you. First of all, we are in the public education business. I don't know what the new laws and regulations are, but who will be liable for these students and Lighthouse business going on in our classrooms and on our school grounds? The other thing is, with all the students on your elementary campuses, which I have a real problem with, why are we not utilizing some of these classrooms? Because we know Bridgeway's overflowing into Southport, and the kids are being shoved back and forth when openings occur. Excuse me. That's, to me, is hard on students, although students are more adaptable than an older person. Those are things that worry me. So, like I say, I'm late in the game and I don't know the new regulations. Do we have to house them there? Is that the law?
Thank you. Danny Langford.
So I'm curious, when you say they're going to be housed at the Westmore Oaks site, is that old Westmore Oaks, where the current charter school of like 40 students is at? Or are they going to also be in rooms that are nothing more than garbage collectors at our current Westmore Oaks, the old high school? I know it's all confusing. And what happens if, I mean, who's funding the building of their place out at Lighthouse? And how many students has that generated? Because I remember originally when Lighthouse development was put in over in the north side of town, it only generated 9 students. So I'm also concerned with all these empty classrooms that we have, even though we're overflowing kids, and we've got stuff stored in some classes at the old Westmore Oaks, current Westmore Oaks. And we've got a lot of classrooms available that aren't being used at old Westmore Oaks, which is where my husband and children went, just so you know, my heart is there. Does that affect how the state's going to look at us for any funding? Because we have technically seats for children. Am I making sense? In my head, it's making sense, but I don't know if I'm articulating it correctly, because I know the state looks at, when we went through processes a long time ago, we were told that any classrooms or seats that we had available open, the state wouldn't allow us to do certain bonding capacity because we had empty classrooms or seats, basically, whether they have stuff stored in them or not. So those are just some of my concerns. Thank you.
Okay, so we will ask please, does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Yeah, we got lots of them.
Come on back. Okay. We'll start off with Trustee Pizzotti, since he has a lot of questions.
Yeah, I certainly would echo some of the comments made by the community in terms of I'm not keen on having Lighthouse house anybody at our sites. But having said that, I realize that if we have it available, we have to give it. And I guess one of my concerns is what happens once they get in. I mean, is there a deadline that they have to be out? Meaning, say their site isn't ready by next year. Speaking of which, that's the other part of my question is, I've seen their site, and there's no way in heck that that's going to be ready by next year. I mean, even if they're doing modular buildings, it just doesn't seem like there's any possible way that they're going to be ready by next year. So I guess one of my questions is, if they're not ready by next year, and when it is finally ready, how do we get them out of our buildings? And is there a due sure date for them to be out?
The way it's set up, that they're entitled to the facilities for the entire school year. It's a one school year offer. Now, as far as when they would get out, if their new site's ready, that would be really up to them. There's an obligation for them to pay fees regardless, because once they accept that, then they're obligated to pay the pro rata charge for the entire year, because it's basically tying up our facilities and impacting the district's ability to use those facilities from the beginning of the year. And I can't necessarily speak to the status except what's in the public view, that they're giving many indications that they are going to be up and running by beginning of the school year. This is one, can be seen as a backup plan in case that doesn't happen, but they will be on the hook to the district for pro rata cost regardless.
Yeah, I get that, and I understand that they have to pay us for using our site. I guess the other question is, what about their current facility that they're using? Are they suggesting that they can't stay there an additional year? Or are they suggesting that that facility has grown too small for them?
I think both, that we've heard from them, that it's too small and that they will not be able to stay at those facilities after the end of this year.
Do we have any proof that they're not being able to? I mean, have they been able to?
The short answer is no, but regardless, they have the right to submit a Prop 39 request to us, and we have that obligation to follow it. Whether or not they choose to take the offer May 1st, stay where they are, move on to the new facilities, that's going to be their decision.
Okay, so will they be renovating the, I guess, damaged classrooms that they're likely going to be taking up at Westmore Oaks? Because I think that's all that we have available, isn't it?
I can't speak to that. I know there's been a review of the facilities, and what's going to be, the offer is going to be what's reasonably equivalent to the schools the students would otherwise be attending.
Okay. All right.
Do you have questions? Okay, great. All right, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez has a lot of questions too.
But if you want to go first, I'll check them off my list.
Oh, no, she was
Okay.
talking to him. I
All
have
right.
one question.
Okay.
You want to ask yours first?
Since it's only one, Trustee Cruz, do you want to ask it? And we'll get back to you.
Is this vote for the board basically moot, since this is a regulation, and if we vote no anyway, it's still a regulation, it's going to happen?
Well, the offer is, there's a deadline by regulation. The recommendation is that the board approve what's being offered based on a process the district and administration have been going through for, since November.
But we have to pass it? I mean, it's a regulation, it's law, right? So
it is. And if you don't, I can't speculate as to.
it's still going to happen, whether we vote, right?
Well, the reality is it's a step required by regulation, and if I don't want to speculate to what would be the alternative.
I just want to know if I was going to jail or not, that's all. I got people who put money on my books.
Okay.
All right.
I have probably a couple questions.
So we go, would you be willing to? Okay, because I know Trustee Kirby Gonzalez has a lot of them, so we're going to let.
I don't have a lot of them.
Okay, very good. Trustee Wong.
This offer is an offer that we made already. Is it the same preliminary offer?
We did make a preliminary offer, which was not binding if accepted. So the next step after we preliminary offered them was them to respond and address any concerns or counter proposals. This is a final offer, and it is for the same
Okay, I
two
just want to make sure
locations.
that we have voted on a preliminary offer.
No, because there was no binding impact. There was no, if they accepted, it was not binding on the district.
we
It's
offered
really to start the
something.
process.
But we did offer some, I'm confused here, but we offered something.
It was a preliminary offer, yes.
Okay. It wasn't binding, but it was, we said, this is available.
It's designed to start the process. They respond, raise any concerns with that, and then this final offer that we're giving, if accepted by them, is binding.
Does it mirror that preliminary offer?
It's similar in that it's the same sites, and then there are some differences as towards the configuration of facilities offered.
And we're obligated to rehab them? I wasn't clear. I know that was asked, but I'm not sure are we obligated to rehab them if we...
I'm not sure. I'm not the one to speak to the exact status of the facilities we're offering. All I know is that what we're offering is reasonably equivalent, and that we'll do what is needed to bring them up to, that reasonably equivalent status.
Okay, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez.
Thank you. We recently walked those rooms, so we know that there's some work to be done for them. So I just have some questions, and more of, because this is an open meeting and for transparency than for anything else. So their letter came to us on November 1st, and we appreciate having you here and having your expertise. My question is that when you came on to help us, was around that time in this process, around November 1st, to help us through the Prop 39 request?
Yes.
And so between November 1st and now, do you have any estimate of how many hours that maybe you've spent helping our district through this?
It's been a team effort in working with staff and giving direction. I don't have an estimate off the top of my head because I do assist you with other charter matters as well.
Okay. Would you say it's a significant amount of money that the district maybe has spent dealing with this Prop 39 request?
It is a labor-intensive task because there are a lot of parts, and as you know from the steps, each step has things that need to be done. But we try to minimize that as much as possible by giving tools to staff to help get council what's needed in order to help with generating any responses.
Thank you. Superintendent Luna, would you say that there's been a significant amount of staff time spent on this Prop 39 request?
Absolutely. We have spent a significant amount of time, not just between November 2017 to current and ongoing, but last year, we also spent quite a bit of time in the Business Services Department, and now our Educational Services Department is having to spend time in regards to the instructional environment for those specific classes.
Okay, thank you. As authorizers, we had this charter school's proposal came to us with a different facility. Originally, it was in a location, and we approved a facility change. Thankfully, the city also changed their requirements for that initial place. Maybe that's a good place for a boxing facility. So we have already approved them to have a location move, which they are clearly, as you said, we can only see what's in the public view. What is in the public view is very much that they are moving forward with their facility to be ready. It's hard to find the public view for this charter school because they don't have very much transparency on their board meetings. So I went back and looked through many of their board meetings, and I don't see a Prop 39 request ever coming up among their board. So I have to wonder if their board or their community even knows that they have really done this. And that's just a question, I think, for us to think about. And it's concerning that we're spending such a significant amount of district resources and time on something that I don't think the community is aware of, that this has taken. My next piece would be in terms of, you talk about the facilities, and I think based on being in those rooms and looking at them, that there's probably some work to be done there in terms of financial work to get ready. There was a federal, some extra federal facility grant money that Lighthouse Charter School got for their facilities to start up their federal facilities. And we recently applied for similar money. And Superintendent Luna, did we get that money that we applied for federal grant facility bonds for our dependent charter school?
Initially, we did. We were allocated and qualified to receive matching funds for our Washington Middle College High School. However, the money we then got disqualified because we are not an independent charter for the Washington Middle College. So it wasn't available after all to dependent charters, only to independent.
Okay, so there is extra federal money, our taxpayer money, that goes to independent charter schools facilities that we do not have access to. And so it's concerning to think that we might need to use our money to upgrade some rooms that are not for our own students when we don't have access to money like that. And so my next question would be, in terms of the next steps, if we go through, offer this to them, they say yes, what were the next steps? Because we clearly have volunteer processes and volunteer badges, and we take our safety, as we've just talked about, incredibly seriously. And we know these facilities, we're on these facilities regularly, and so we know that access to them, suddenly bringing in a whole new entity, is very concerning. So what are the next steps if this goes forward, in terms of what that process looks like and how much control that we have over how the process looks?
Sure, and any type of shared use type of arrangement, which is common in the Prop 39 world across the state, is disruptive to the site administrator, and it's not an ideal situation for charter schools either. If the offer is accepted, and we would start the process of negotiating a facilities use agreement, and the terms of that would be, we'd be working out schedules with site administrators, with district administration. Safety would be part of that, ensuring supervision of students, schedules throughout the day. Indemnification clauses are in there to ensure that they're responsible for their students. And because there's going to be some shared use of facilities, the different gymnasiums and play areas, those kind of things, those schedules will need to be worked out as sooner the better, as the schedule's being set during the summer.
I'm sorry, we're going to need a motion to extend.
I'll make a
10
motion.
o'clock. Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Is a shared facility, as one example, a cafeteria?
Yeah, yes, that's a possibility.
Because I
Same
think
with,
of we just went through my daughter eats lunch at 10:30 in the morning, because we know that our facilities have so many kids, it's hard to get through that cafeteria. All right, this is very concerning. Okay.
So there would be a lot of back and forth to get those terms nailed down into that agreement, and then that would come back to this board. I'm ideally like in June to get that set, and then there's an obligation to allow them onto campus I think it's about 10 days before the start of school, and that's assuming their schedule starts around the same time. So a lot of those things we're not sure of, and they'll need to be worked out, and that'll be clear in the facilities offer that those arrangements will need to be nailed down in a facilities use agreement.
Thank you.
Okay, we have many more questions and concerns. Trustee Wong and then Trustee Pizzati.
Remind, what is our legal obligation today as a board? Because you're the experts, and I'm not.
The request is that the board approve the recommendation to make the final offer required by the regulation. The alternative is
That's the request. What's our legal obligation?
our legal obligation is to give a final offer by that date. The district's obligation.
By April 1st, and this is the meeting to do that.
Correct.
Okay. And so, because we walk the campuses, there's a lot of rehab to get done. So that would, what if that never gets done because we don't have the money? Because, out of curiosity, we know that there's a lot of work to be done in those classrooms that are, I think, described earlier as junk rooms, right? What happens if we don't meet our deadlines? Just curious. I mean, if we offer and it just takes a lot. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work.
I'm going to have to defer, to staff, and based on representations that will offer those, and we'll have those in place for the start of the school year.
Okay. Okay, Trustee Pizzotti?
Okay. So I would like to make a motion to amend the final offer of space to Lighthouse Charter School to include costs for legal fees and staff costs in preparing this document.
Okay, do I have a second?
I don't think legally, is that possible?
Can we do that? Can we do that?
Can we
So
do-
that the first things first, can we do? Well, legal, first of all, as this offer is, you are, again,
this
our
is the offer,
expert,
we
so
can't
can
make
that
amendments?
even happen?
That would be outside what Prop 39 allows.
Okay.
All right.
So you can't.
Superintendent Luna,
So
can you
you
clarify
can't-
for us?
You can't include in the offer costs associated with preparing this?
Complying with the Prop 39 process, no.
Superintendent Luna, did you want to make a comment?
No, I was just going to say that statement, and keeping in mind that Washington Unified School District is the authorizer of
Yeah,
this
that's true.
charter.
That's true, yes. Okay, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have to have a motion for approval.
Go ahead.
Anyone want to make a motion?
Nobody wants to do it.
For compliance, I'm going to make the motion. No one else will. Do I get a second?
Compliance, I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all abstain, I'm sorry, any noes?
Nope.
No.
Okay, 2. So,
Did you vote?
I'll share a cell with you.
I made the motion. I made the motion. Who didn't vote?
Gotcha. Okay,
Okay.
check. Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
okay, so we have
Okay,
the
we
3.
move on.
So we move on. All right.
We move on.
All right, so now,
I like being law-abiding.
yeah, well, I
It
mean,
is what it is.
all right. Q3.
But I do want to thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you.
And your hard work.
Sorry
Thank
for
you.
being difficult.
All right, that was for compliance.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So here we go. Q3, approval of the second interim financial report for fiscal 2017, 2018. Paul DeSario, interim assistant superintendent of business services.
So moved.
So, okay, so we have a motion by trustee Pizzotti. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Cruz. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous ayes. Have it. Q4, approval of resolution number 1718-24, recognition of life and memory of Cesar Chavez. I will read the resolution, then you'll take a vote on it, so we know what we're voting on. Okay, Washington Unified School District, recognition of the life and memory of Cesar E. Chavez. Whereas Cesar E. Chavez was a heroic figure of the 20th century who led a movement dedicated to improving the lives of farm workers, and whereas Cesar E. Chavez is a recognized national leader in the fight for civil rights and meaningful social change by peaceful means for Latinos and all who suffer from injustice and discrimination, and whereas school and community leaders today draw upon the example of Cesar E. Chavez as they coalesce around the cry for protection and leadership being heard throughout the district and the nation around immigration concerns, and whereas the annual Cesar E. Chavez Day of Service, which takes place on March 31st, his birthday, was created for community members to promote service to the communities of California in honor of the life and work of Cesar E. Chavez. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Washington Unified School District hereby recognizes the many contributions and accomplishments of Cesar E. Chavez and encourages all district schools to do the same, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education of the Washington Unified School District hereby recognizes the dedication and perseverance of many current community organizers tirelessly working to increase self-determination and self-empowerment among immigrant communities throughout the district, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education of the Washington Unified School District encourages staff at all levels of the district to engage in trust building with potentially vulnerable individuals and communities that may be experiencing increased levels of discrimination, anxiety, and uncertainty, and be it finally resolved that the Board of Education of the Washington Unified School District encourages students, families, and staff to engage in service to others in remembrance of Cesar E. Chavez's life and actions in hopes of building tolerance and trust with our fellow neighbors and community members during these trying times for many. Let's do a vote.
We gotta get a motion.
We need a motion, thank you. Board Member Pizzotti.
I move.
Okay, moved by Board Member Wong. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Chavez. Ayes?
Who's Cruz?
I'm sorry. I said Chavez. I'm sorry, Cruz. I'm thinking of Cesar Chavez. Okay.
Cruz, Chavez, whatever. Garcia.
Cruz. Thank you. All right. So I believe that this is, okay, how many
Resolution's individual
ayes?
vote.
This is individual for a resolution, so we will start with Trustee Cruz.
Aye.
Cruz.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Trustee Pizzotti.
Aye.
Trustee Wong.
Aye.
Trustee Kirby Gonzalez.
Aye.
And I also vote aye, unanimously passed and adopted by the Washington Unified School District Board of Education this 22nd day of March, 2018. Thank you. Okay, so now we go to our approval, yes, second resolution, approval of Resolution 1718-25, recognition of National Women's History Month. Recognition of, may I have someone else read this?
How about I read it?
In solidarity, you can. In solidarity, if you'd like to read it for women, yes.
Board Member
Thank you,
Rosati.
being
Actually,
our
I
only
don't
male
have
board
a-
member.
I don't have
Go
a
ahead,
resolution.
Rosati.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, here,
You
let
can
me.
hand it over to him.
Yes, I'm going to do that right now.
I stand with my sisters.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
It's a long one.
Let's see, Washington Unified School District Resolution Number 1718-25, recognition of National Women's History Month. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to our nation and community in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home, whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. Whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of the early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist, emancipation, labor, civil rights, and other movements, as well as the recent #MeToo movement. And whereas, despite these contributions, the role of American,
Men are Me Too, too.
men are Me Too, that's right. Whereas, despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Washington Unified School District Board of Education that March is designated as Women's History Month. The superintendent is called to observe and highlight March as Women's History Month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities throughout the district.
All right, so I'm, make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call. Okay. Trustee Sarah Kirby Gonzalez.
Aye.
Trustee Wong.
Aye.
Trustee Pizzotti.
Aye.
Trustee Cruz.
Aye.
And I too vote aye, unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, now we move to board governance.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry.
11.
What did I miss?
11.
Oh, I'm sorry.
11.
That's right.
Yeah.
Forgot.
Or
I'm sorry.
11.
Here we are. Now, we've also moved 011, which is,
Approval of the
yes,
contract
thank you. I'm so
services.
sorry. It's been a long night. Thank you. Approval of contract services with Wallace and Kuehl for the Phase IESA PEA school site and geographic hazardous studies of property adjacent to the Liberty Development Elementary number 10. Okay.
Business services.
Thank you.
Paul.
Okay, here we go. Is it Paul? Business services, Paul? Are you making the
All right,
presentation?
okay.
Who's making it?
I'll just come up.
Okay, thank you.
Or ask Alicia why she pulled it. Do you want to
Well, he's going to
present?
introduce it first.
Present, yeah, present first.
Are we on the, we're on the Liberty one first?
Yes.
Liberty, it's just our continuing service on that site to ensure that we can use it in the future. There's a set of requirements that we have to go through to get it approved by the State Department of Education, and one of them is a geotech survey. There's a number of other smaller surveys that we're doing on that site to make sure that it can actually be approved for a school site. That work has not been done yet. And so once we get that done, then should we have funding, which we don't at the moment, it would take us probably until 2021 to actually construct a school there and be ready for a school year, maybe the 2021 September. So if we don't perform this, then it just slows down the process.
Yeah. Okay, Paul, I'm going to ask you to just have a seat for a minute. We have 2 public comments on it.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Danny Langford?
Before the public, I want to make one more point.
Okay.
I was just reviewing before I got up here, the enrollment projection for the district. It's showing that the district will grow 4,000 students, our current enrollment projections, between now and 2027. So that's kind of the urgency behind this site. So just so as you deliberate, you understand that.
Okay, Danny Langford?
Get my elbow on the way out. I'm confused, to say the least. I looked through the document for Wallace and Kuehl, and it says that we're examining 19.36 acres. And it also says that in 2010, the report was on 16.6 acres. And yet at the 2x2, Marty Tuttle from the city said to the superintendent, you're only going to be using 6 acres rather than 10 and putting a 2-story building, blah, blah, blah. How many acres are we really going to use? I know in that site because I worked hand in hand with the developer because it's right across the street from my home where Liberty's going to go in general. And they've slated 17 acres for the school site. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not okay with us having to buy back property from the developer. That property for that school site was given years ago to this district. I'm fully aware of all of that. And trust me, the developer has heard my concerns over that because it's going to just promote their projects. So I even feel developers should be building these schools in their projects. But that's a conversation between the city and the developer. Totally get all that. I don't understand, though, all the miscommunication, again, causes all this distrust in the community. When the city's saying one thing, our school district's saying another, the people aren't seeing the transparency. But with that, I'm curious how many acres and how long are these studies good for? Because this project hasn't even gone to City Hall yet. I mean, yeah, a lot's been done behind the scenes for the last 6 to 8 years, but it's not coming to the council until the first process of hearings and all that till May, and that's why I'm asking. Because a lot can happen between then and now, and they have to have the levees up before they can even start the project, basically. And trust me, I live right down the road from it, and it's not done yet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Pat Flint.
And by the way, good questions you guys are asking.
Pat Flint?
I mean, seriously.
I agree with Danny's last statement. You guys are conducting business in a very, very professional manner, and I appreciate that. again, like Danny said, there's, how many acres are we talking about? And we, when I was on the school board, never did any of this until we were absolutely sure we were ready to build that site. Then if there was a problem with that site, we either mitigated things away or we brought in topsoil. So I think you're putting the cart way before the horse, unless you're planning to possibly go out for a bond next year and you need this information. And I don't think that's a very good idea yet.
Okay, Paul, being summoned again. I believe our board has questions. Let's start.
I don't know if there's questions. I was just going to make the statement why
Okay,
I
very
pulled
good.
it. So, but if you have
Okay.
questions.
No, that's great. Trustee Cruz, please.
So I pulled this from the consent, and I'm asking the board for a vote to table this matter. I feel like we need further information. I passed out to the board the Liberty site plan, school location, and in the right-hand corner, it's dated 2013. And on the second page shows the land, how much land we had. And it was initially done by, I'm going to give Scott his kudos because this is one document he had, that I'm not sure, I know Sarah probably has it, I don't know if the rest of the board has even seen it, but it's dated 2013, and this was the 5-year plan. This year, the schools should have been built. So we're already 5 years behind. The 2x2, they haven't built. Like I said in our comments, they said everybody's ready, but nobody's building. There was a comment that developers might be changing soon. So I think this is premature. I'm not sure how long a hazardous studies last. If we're not gonna build a school for 3 years or 20, 21, 22, are we gonna have to redo a survey? I think there's a lot of updates that the board needs. If you can see on the page 2, it shows, and that was one of my questions, how many acres are we truly surveying? Because we started with 20. Bees Lake was 0.76. We had some levy swap. I don't know if we truly bought land, purchased land. I pulled our agendas, and we initially started on our school board agendas, August 22, 2013 was the first MOU from the Paik or Pack family. I apologize if I'm not saying it right. And then the only other one, the latest one I found was June 8, 2017. So I think before we make this decision, I think we need to table it and we need to get some updated information on how many acres we truly have, how many were sold. There's some things that have happened, but I'm kind of in the fog of what we're really approving here, and I just think it's too early, and I'd like to get some more information before I do this. So
I'm also in favor of tabling this because there is a lot of information that's missing, and I felt that way also when I attended the 2x2.
Fair, that's fair.
Okay. So,
Can I ask 2 questions?
Okay, there are some questions. Trustee Kirby Gonzalez and then Trustee Pizzotti.
Do you have any idea how long a study like this lasts?
I would guess it's just a few months. It's just a matter of time, so it's not it's long-term. Basically, a geotech study is required for every new school site. It's determine the earthquake safety for the site. I believe in this case it's going to be fairly routine, but the state architect requires it before they would approve, and the Department of Ed require it before they approve the site. The site is not approved as a school site, and so when I came, I just said, let's move all this along so we don't fall behind. As you made the point that it's supposed to be built already, and I did actually see that information that you, not in the kind of detail you looked at it. So I just said to the group, our staff, let's just move this thing along, get all the stuff done so you can build when you need to. So I'm, the interim guy, but I just keep moving it. So
the process to do this takes a couple months?
at least
maybe
a couple of months,
Okay.
and that's my experience with it. It just depends what they find.
Okay.
My guess is they're not going to find much because we're not on a major earthquake fault here in West Sacramento, so I would say it's fairly routine. There'll be other studies we're going to have to do as we go forward. For example, it's within the 2-mile radius of an airport. executive airport. It's hard to
Oh.
know, but it is.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Okay.
we have to mitigate that or make sure the exact distance is very close. So there's
Yeah,
all
that's a
little,
crow's
and that's just an
flies.
example
Yeah.
of different studies.
That's
It's, yeah, it's by line of sight.
Wow.
So it's all different studies we have to go through to make sure this site is, get approved. I don't see as an issue that we won't get it approved, but it just takes time.
And
So
then-
whatever delay we take now, it'll just add time at the end.
And then when a study like this is done, to the question of how long.
And how long is it good for? It's
is it good for?
probably, it'll probably good for several years. Who knows if there's going to be a change? The unknown, and I think they're correct on that, the state may say, well, we want to change the standard. Or they may change the earthquake zone. Those kinds of things, then you'd have to do it again. But hopefully, we move forward quickly on this and get it built. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Can't guarantee anything, but that's what you have to do to get a site approved. It's quite lengthy and it takes a long time. And I think Scott moved slowly, it's been moving through this. It's not anything that I started.
No,
It's
no,
going-
no, I'm not saying you started.
So I just was trying to just follow through. So whatever, and we can come back later, it's whatever you want.
I'd just like updates on.
And we're certainly going
I'd
to
like to
update you on
keep
the
it
6th,
going. Okay.
on all this information. So
Okay, Trustee
it's gonna be
Pizzotti?
updated.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, the want to slow things down and get more information, but we can also do that in the process of this being moved forward. This is just a study, so we have a problem, in the area as it is about being impacted, and, we need to start looking at alternatives. So this is something that I think we should be moving forward with because it just keeps the ball rolling until we can say stop at a later date, so if we need to. So I would say I'd like to make a motion to approve, but
I think I already made a motion to table it.
Okay.
And I'm
so-
just, honestly, I'm just asking for a month. I'd like to get more information. I'm not asking for 6 months or a year,
We do have another meeting, a 2x2 on,
not
what
until
date?
May.
Until May.
I want to clarify one thing, though, that this site and the Liberty development are really not connected. The development for, the building a new school,
Smack in the middle.
but I understand that, but building the new school, I mean, the timing may be slightly connected, but building a new school in the south end is critical for this district.
Well, there's some
I understand.
there's some conversations that have been had and not worked out with the city. And
Okay.
my concern is us going in, starting to build this school, and the city hasn't moved. They've already asked us to pay for streets and things around. So my concern is us going in,
Let me
starting the
just make one
process,
point,
they're gonna
and
ask for us to
I
do
don't
more.
want to get in a big argument, but here's the point. The enrollment's growing in the spike.
I totally agree.
So you're going to have to build a school somewhere.
But I don't want to do a rush job
comment.
either.
Yeah, no,
Trustee Wong has a comment she wants to make.
That makes sense to, I mean, it doesn't sound like we're slowing for 6 months, but slowing up for a month makes reasonable sense for I mean, I feel like this was presented a long time ago, so a refresher on status makes a lot of good, because I'm
Or we will
confusing a
have
lot of
that
different
workshop
things.
with the board on the 6th
Yeah.
of April. And
Yeah,
so
maybe,
we can
maybe
bring
just
it
that
then,
update.
and you can
Yeah.
see it then.
Yeah,
Okay.
that feels fair.
So we have a motion to table it. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. So let's, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 4 ayes. Abstentions? And 1 no. Thank you. Okay. So we will table it for, we're looking at about a month. Till next meeting. Next meeting? Okay.
You said we're reviewing this on April.
My understanding is you have another item we have to get to.
yeah, we still got.
Okay, here we go.
That's what I'm waiting for.
So one more, oh, yeah, right.
And I can make this short because I pulled that item. I don't want to table it. I don't have a problem approving it, but I wanted to point out that the school, we don't have a history on the 011, but now we're being asked for a geological hazard report for our phase 2 of our culinary, and this is in process. So this is definitely needed. And so what I wanted to show is this, we have no history, we have no what's going on, and they're asking, we're asking for this, the report now, but this is happening now, so this makes sense. So that's the only reason I pointed is this is happening now, yes, I
They're for
see
two
it.
different reasons, just to be clear. That reason for that one is that you're building now on a site that
Exactly.
did not have a geotech survey when it was done. This is a new site that is unapproved, the one, the Liberty site.
So how come
therefore-
it wasn't done with phase one? How come they didn't do it all at once?
Because I believe that this phase two in that part of the site, it has an additional requirement, and I just don't know the details, how I could get that, but, and that's a good question.
Okay, I do have a public comment, Pat Flint, on this item.
Sorry, I just wanted
It's
to
okay.
tell you.
No, that's
I
fine.
didn't have an issue with it, just
That's fine,
wanted to
that's
point
good.
it.
Number one, what are you doing at Bright School? Are you building a new building, or? What school grounds are we talking about, Bright?
Next to the culinary.
Okay, are you building a new building?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer.
Sorry,
You're a
I'm
public
sorry,
comment.
I'm sorry, Pat,
I-
public
you
comment, we're
can't
not
answer.
supposed to have a
Excuse me,
conversation.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's me, sorry.
Well, then I guess I have to ask after the meeting.
All right, thank you,
I
Pat.
apologize.
It's okay, all right, so where are we now?
Can I move to approve?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, very good. All in favor? Aye. Okay, unanimously approved. Okay, so where are we now? Board governance. Okay, R1, review of Washington Unified School District Board of Trustee Governance Handbook, Kobe Posadi.
Okay. So, in reviewing our handbook, I've noticed that there's some things that are out of date and some things that are, there's some, typos, like, well, first of all, it doesn't reflect all the trustees' names. Like, I'm not reflected, trustee Wong's not reflected. So, I don't know that we actually need trustees' names on there, but we do need to update this. So I was, wondering, because also I was looking at our board bylaws. Our bylaws and our handbook are in a bit of contradiction with each other. So we need to, do something to either connect the two, or at least, mirror one from the other, because in terms of setting the agenda, it says the board president in our bylaws says consulting with the superintendent or designee on the preparation of the board's agenda. And then you go to our handbook, it says the board as a whole makes the determination of whether or not items of individual interest are added to a future agenda. So, in looking at that, I'm seeing that there's a conflict on how we're putting things on the agenda. And I would like to get us back on the same page. Like, are we going to do it by, decree, or are we going to do it by, the way I thought we were doing it? If somebody was going to put an individual item of interest, they fill out the blue form, and then it goes to the board to say, yeah, this can go on, or no, it can't. Individual board members may bring up a new idea or request a future agenda item by explanation of future board agenda items at the end of the meeting. The board president will ask the superintendent for any comments on the item. A majority of board members need to concur to place a new item on a future agenda. So I just want us to be able to figure out what are we going to follow. And since we have from what I understand, a board governance follow-up session on April 14th, can we place the handbook on that as an agenda item so we can figure out which way we want to go with this?
Yes.
So.
It's probably a good recommendation, since there obviously, as you pointed out, some language there that we definitely need to clean up, to clarify, so that we're all on the same page. It's fine.
Yeah, and we updated a lot of our policies and board, so yeah, it's definitely outdated. I know board member Kirby Gonzalez had asked for that. So, yep, sounds good to me.
It might be worth it just thinking, moving forward too, as we look at this and think about aligning it like strategic plan language and that type of thing.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot going on at that board meeting. Maybe we have a discussion on those key pieces, but then
Maybe do a
maybe
special.
President Akala, you might, have a trustee or two trustees go through it as they have policies, an aligned policy with this. So we're not going line by line by line at our special board meeting.
Those are very good recommendations.
Can I make-
Yes, trustee Wong,
Can I
thank
make
you.
a suggestion? Because I
Of
think I
course.
was probably wrote it on after you all created this, which I was surprised to see this is your governance handbook, but I was given this on my governance tab of the Board of Trustee operating procedures. So there's 3 pieces
I have
that
that
need
too.
to all align somehow
Yes.
because it's all very confusing.
So Board of Trustees, what is the direction on how we're going to move forward on this? Is there some kind of work that you would like staff to do in preparation for the April 14th meeting?
Oh, what would be the recommendation of the board?
Yeah.
We definitely need to align everything up with those three.
14th is, do you want to do it before the 14th, or you want to do it after the 14th?
What is everyone's
So
availability?
what I'm
preference?
kind of suggesting, and by means anybody else can do it, but I was asking board member trustee Cote B. Pizzotti if he and I want to get together and we can do some editing, simple editing, the names, look at our policies and procedures and bring something on our work, is it April 14th?
Yep.
All right,
Like a first read, I guess.
okay. Okay, well, thank you for volunteering. That would.
But anybody else can do it. I was just asking.
No, it's a lot of work. We appreciate the offer and accept.
It just hopefully cut down on some time.
I don't want to violate the Brown Act.
No. So there can only be 2, we know. Okay, so let's move on to future board agenda items. S1, board study session, current and future facilities, April 5th, 2018. S2, school safety resolution, Alicia Cruz and Jackie Wong. S3, Board of Governance follow-up session, April 14th, 2018.
I just let the board know that Jackie and I are working on that resolution together. And it should be done to present to the board. I just have one, I have 2 comments. I don't know how the board wants to do it, if it needs to be on a future board agenda item or if it's a communication that can be had. But I've been getting a lot of questions from the community about the amount of consultants we are hiring. And so I don't know if we can get a report, not necessarily a full report, but some data or somewhere about the last year, about is it normal for us to hire this many consultants? I don't recall in the past that we're doing it. So I don't know if there's a report. I don't know how we could get that to the board and the public.
So each consent agenda item, any consultant being hired is in every consent agenda item. The board also, and it's open to the public as well, on our board meeting agendas, has the quarterly reports of checks cut to whether they're consultants or to staff members or other entities.
I'm sorry, say that again. When is the quarterly report?
It's the quarterly report of the expenses.
On the agenda?
Not on the agenda. Yeah, actually, it is on the agenda each quarter. But in order to, I think the fastest place to find the consultants being hired during the year are definitely on the consent agenda. Our practice in Washington Unified is to bring forward any contract, whether it's $1,000 or $50,000. And that's not the practice for every school district, nor was it the practice prior to my tenure. That has been my consistent practice since July 1st, 2015. So if it would help the board, we can categorize them by business services, construction, facilities, educational services, curriculum programs, training. Those are basically the topics of consultants that we generally are hiring.
Would that be
So-
helpful?
It is. I mean, I don't want someone to spend hours doing it. That's my question. I mean,
We would
is there-
categorize every single consent agenda item and go through
Well,
that.
not consent agenda item. I mean, you just mentioned some categories. Can we say, I don't know, in education, we hired 10 consultants at a total of,
Oh, certainly we can do
something like
that.
that.
Sure, we can do
Nothing
that.
too intense, just,
Well, and what we want to do in doing that is explanation, because we don't have a facilities director now. So we're not using we're not hiring an employee to do that work because we are not having a full-time
Well,
employee do that.
is anybody
So-
else, is anyone else interested in those numbers or anything? Is it something I can just meet with Linda on my own?
I think maybe you can meet on
Okay.
because as you said, they're on all of our agendas.
Okay, then I'll meet with you on my own. And the other thing is I would like our attorney to look at advisory boards outside of our WUSD subcommittees. Because I have been serving on an advisory board on the Yolo County Board of Supervisors to the Community Service Action Board for low income in West Sacramento. And listed on the advisory board is Alicia Cruz, community member. And I'm starting to see some members that are serving on advisory boards or other committees, and it says their name and it says Washington Unified School District trustee. And that's concerning to me that people might think they're representing the district at that time versus a community member. So I'd like to have the attorney review that to see if we should be using, WUSD trustee on advisory boards outside of what we're doing here.
Okay.
And again, I don't know if that has to be a future agenda item or if that can be something from our legal team.
Probably a legal memo.
That's what I'm
about, like, I mean, I know that we talked about asterisk for identity only, but that's a legal memo. I think legal has probably weighed in on that in the past.
And that's all. I'm sorry to keep talking.
No, it's okay. I can tell everyone's anxious to go home, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Okay, second, aye, and all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you, guys. I thought it was a very good meeting. It was long, but.